Here we are once again. One of the potentially most exciting days of the year for fans around the National Hockey League. Trade Deadline Day. Welcome back, Devils fans. It is your host, Ace, here on Running with the Devils, where we are talking New Jersey Devils hockey all year long. Please hit that subscribe button, smash the like, share with a friend. Thank you very much. And as you know, folks, the season rolls on. The 25-26 New Jersey Devils season has gone completely off the rails. The team is a total disaster. They have won 3 in a row, a little bit, of a case of too little, too late, statistically speaking, but lots of rumors and names circling around our beloved New Jersey Devils. Who's going to get traded? Who's going to stay? And we are here to talk about all of it. A lot of fans kind of split on certain guys. Most people, it seems like, want to trade Dougie. Some people are saying cash out Nemo. Some people are saying don't trade Nemo no matter what. So many things. Kind of the same thing with Cody Glass. And everyone's kind of all over the board here. But we will discuss it all. And we start with the first piece of news breaking about our beloved New Jersey Devils earlier today. What would seem to be the precursor of things to come. This was at 1:56 in the afternoon. Devils waive 3 players. Courtesy of newjerseydevils.com, we have the Devils have placed forwards Evgeny Dodonov, Luke Glendening, and Maxim Siplikov on waivers. The team announced Thursday. And while these guys are extraneous to the team, obviously, I think at a minimum, it sheds more light on the fact that a lot of these Fitzgerald attempted Band-Aid fixes are simply not working. Now, Dodonov, when he was signed this past summer, I think a lot of us thought he could be a nice bottom 6 piece, as did I. I thought it was a low risk, potentially high reward type move if he found chemistry, if he worked out in the bottom 6. But we then find out on the first day of training camp that Fitzgerald did not bring him in as bottom 6 help. He once again tried a patchwork fix for the top 6, and they had Dodonov on the first line on the first day of training camp. And a lot of us were like, you got to be kidding me. You know, we liked it when we thought it was a bottom 6 move, but then it turned out this was the latest budget fix to get a top 6 winger, and the budget moves got to stop. The budget moves are getting nowhere, and this screen should just be a constant reminder of that. And so Dodonov obviously was injured, never worked out, hasn't registered a point, nothing going on. Glendening, I'm not going to kill Fitz for because that was, well, I guess in the end, honestly, we can kill him for it because the only reason Glendening was signed was to be 4C heading into the season because the previous patchwork 4C that he signed, Lamico, was injured. But this is a patchwork on top of a previous patchwork. You know, Lamico, they get him from Switzerland. He was out of the league for 3 years. They think they found some diamond in the rough. I don't know why. I could speculate. I'd have to believe it was analytics driven or something. But patchwork on top of patchwork. He gave us some serviceable games. He wasn't a liability, but in the end, not moving the needle. And Siplikov, I never really had any hopes for him. You know, he's a big body. I was hoping he could do something, but in the end, we just took him to make the money work to dump off Palat to the Islanders. And so here you have it. It's just like these little dinky moves once again that have gotten us nowhere. Devils waive all 3 of them. I'm sure they're probably all going to clear waivers. I don't think anyone's going to take them, and it is what it is. But certainly seems like a precursor of things to come. Fitz potentially looking to free up cap space to bring some money in. Now, who that could be? A lot of different options, a lot of different names being thrown around out there, and we'll get to all those momentarily. But then the second piece of news that came out later in the afternoon, this is courtesy of Elliot Friedman's 32 Thoughts. The top NHL insider, Elliot Friedman, has this little tidbit on his deadline, precursor write-up New Jersey made all defensemen available besides Luke Hughes and Brett Pesce. Simon Nemec switched agents, always a bad sign for an incumbent, the incumbent being the New Jersey Devils. That's one reason he's out there. And so, once again, these restricted free agents the past couple of seasons have gotten quite messy with the Devils. 2 years ago, it was Dawson Mercer. That one didn't go on too long, but, a lot of us wanted to see these things just taken care of and squared away earlier in the summer. The Dawson Mercer one extends into training camp. I believe he only missed 1 day. But then most recently, this past offseason and summer, Luke Hughes, a high-profile player, a high-profile kind of situation, and he ended up missing, I don't know, what was it, like a week of training camp or something, as the Devils and his camp must have went back and forth before he ultimately signed the $9 million a year deal. But I have expressed my concern about both Nemo and Grits, if I'm being honest, heading into this summer, because they're two RFAs that, once again, probably will be looking to get paid handsomely, as all players should and will do. And now we get news that Nemo has switched agents. Now, I don't know if I'm going to take it as far as many people did. A lot of people took it as like the ultimate doomsday sign that things aren't going well or this is a problem for the Devils. And more than likely, it probably is. I'd imagine, this is just pure speculation, but for him to switch his agent, there was probably some sort of maybe preliminary talks with the Devils, who knows, but some sort of hiccup in the road. He didn't like the way his agent was handling it and therefore decided to move on to a new agent. I do agree it's probably not great news for the Devils. I don't know if it is as problematic as people are making it out to be. I'm not going to look too much into it, but there's definitely something there. And I do think, and I've expressed this in the past as well, that I think Nemo might be a little aggravated with the organization just because of how he's been handled in his young career. He was bounced up and down from Utica. It seems like taken out of the lineup when other guys wouldn't be. I don't know. It's a whole lot, but I'd imagine he does feel some type of way. And now if there's going to be any sort of hesitation on the Devils' part to pay him what he's looking for, I could see this getting ugly. And I wish that wasn't the case. I do like Nemo. I think he's going to be an absolute stud. And he's only going to get better with time. And this could be a contributing factor, along with obviously the money that he's going to get paid, aside from the actual negotiations of it, just from pure economics. He's going to want to get paid a good amount of money. And I've said this for a while, and maybe the Devils just don't see him as that type of guy to pay that kind of money. Who really knows? But I do think that probably is a contributory factor in the Devils shopping him, coupled with the fact that he would be one of our most coveted and valuable pieces to other teams in potential trades. And so when you look at this team now with where they are, after diagnosing the season, which the diagnosis across the board would be this team cannot score goals to save their lives, bring in some offense now. Maybe they take a look and say, we do have some extra pieces on defense. Can we trade a guy like Nemo to get that super impactful forward and finally get the top 6 winger that Jack Hughes so desperately needs? And I will say, from my standpoint, you guys know my thoughts. I think there is no such thing as untradeable in my world. I'm a disciple of the Lou Lamoriello school of, thought processes or whatever you want to call it. If there's a trade to be made that improves the team, as tough as it may be to part with a guy or guys and send them out, you got to make the trades. I mean, Lou Lamoriello famously made some of the most shocking and kind of surprising trades to the fan base to improve the team. I mean, he traded Jason Arnott, the guy that scored the Stanley Cup winning goal against Dallas, right behind me here. The center of the A-line, he was traded. Lots of big name guys have been dealt over the years to improve the team. Nemo would prefer to keep him, but if there is truly an impactful piece coming back, I think they should explore it. Now, I will say there's a lot of names being thrown out there and packages and all these rumors. And we've talked about this guy before. I do like Jordan Kyrou. I do think he would help this team. I think he'd be a good fit. However, I would not want to trade Simon Nemec to get Jordan Kyrou. You only have, in my opinion, there's only one real bullet here in terms of a big impactful trade, and I think Nemo is going to be one of your main pieces, I personally would not want to use that move for Kyrou. I would love to get him some other way, whether that's with picks, prospects, potentially a guy like Mercer in a package. I don't know exactly what it would look like, but if you could get Kyrou here without trading Nemo, I would be all for it. I think it'd be phenomenal. He has some years left on his deal, a good cap hit, I think around $8 million. I think that would make sense. But to trade Nemo for him, I think I would be a little upset and a little underwhelmed, just because I do think Nemo is going to be very good. I think a lot of teams are after him, and it would seem like he could be put in a package to get a huge impact piece. Huge impact piece. Now, who is that? I don't know. You guys know my dream type of players and what my list would consist of. But you never know. I don't want to see the Devils trade him just to trade him for whatever. And a lot of people are suggesting and fearing that, I saw someone was like, oh, he's going to trade him for a guy like Shen or Marsh or so. Like, I don't see Fitz doing that. If nothing else, the one thing I will say in the defense of Fitz is that I don't think he's ever been fleeced on a trade or made like a horrible trade. You could go back to someone and be like, oh, it wasn't great. But in my opinion, he's never given up a huge piece or pieces for junk. He would rather sit with his hands in his pockets and do nothing than do that. And so I am not as fearful of something like that as other people are. But who knows? We don't know behind the scenes. This could already be very ugly between him and the organization. I hope that's not the case, but you never know. The Devils may know that he's not going to sign for a penny under, I'm just making this up, but let's just say, 8.5. Like, that's their bottom line. They're willing to hold out. They're not going to sign for a penny less than 8.5. The Devils might have that information. And if they do, and they don't want to pay the money, they're going to say, you know what, maybe we just have to trade him for whatever, which would suck. Which would absolutely suck, but we'll see. I am of the mindset that if Nemo is traded, it must be for something big and bigger than Kyrou, in my opinion. Again, I like Kyrou. I think he could be a good fit. I think he would definitely help this team, obviously, but do I want to use a guy like Nemo to get him? I would say no. Personally, I would have my sights set on some bigger game in this big game hunting. All right, let me see what we got here. We're going to get to the comments. Shout out to all you. The night before trade deadline, kids. Like I've said for months, I'm not expecting anything substantial coming in, but I would love to be wrong and be surprised. Surprise us all, Fitz. Give us a trade deadline whopper. Devs fan says, wait, are they trying to trade Nemec or do teams just want him? I don't think they're just trying to trade him for the sake of trading him. I think they realize that he is a valuable piece, and they're probably out there fielding phone calls and figuring out, well, how valuable is this guy? What exactly can we get for him? I would not be shocked if he's not dealt at all. I think there's a very good chance he's still a New Jersey Devil at 3:01 p.m. tomorrow. But if someone comes along, unexpectedly and dangles a big piece, we might see him on the move. Robbie's bench toss was the night before. For better or worse, let's collectively hope this is Tom's last trade deadline as GM. We could only hope. But it does seem like in some ways it could be a lifetime appointment. He could be here for a while. David Chimes, that graphic. I thought that was a good picture of Fitz. Michaels, 7134. I believe that the Devils are shopping Nemec in order to gauge how the league values him in order to hardball his contract this summer and see who might offer sheet him. We can't all get cushy Luke money. That's interesting, right? It's kind of what I just said in terms of them just getting feelers out there to see what they could actually get for him. I would have to imagine, I'd have to look up the current compensation. Let me take a look at that, actually. Because that does matter. That is a good point about the offer sheet, even though we don't see them too often. And they were kind of frowned upon for a very long time, which is a whole separate funny topic. All right, let me pull this up here. So I don't know when this is in effect till, because this does change as the cap changes and stuff, but this is for the 25-26. So I it'll be close to this, if not exactly this. but we look at the offer sheet compensation. So I think at a minimum, if someone was to offer sheet Nemo, it would definitely be at a minimum in that 7 million to 9.3 range, which is the third tier from the top. And when you look at the compensation for that, it's a first round pick, a second round pick, and a third round pick. Now, obviously not excellent if you're going to lose him via an offer sheet. And for those that are not familiar, an offer sheet is essentially a contract that can be offered to a player when they are a restricted free agent like Nemo is, that essentially, a team, he could sign the contract, this offer sheet from another team, and then the Devils could either match it or they could just lose the player and then get the corresponding compensation. And the compensation is tied to how much the player is getting paid. That's how they figure out what the compensation is. So if someone was to come along and let's just say offer sheet offer sheet Nemo, $8.5 million a year, if he was to sign that offer sheet and the Devils did not match it, they would get that first, second, and third round pick as compensation for losing him that way. Now, if somehow a team is super hot on Nemo and they're like, we think this kid's going to be a phenom, we have big plans for him, and they offer him $9.6 million a year, right? Now you're in that second tier from the top. There's no chance anyone's going to offer him over 11.7. That's the top. That's the top threshold, and that's 4 first-round picks. Obviously, he's not going to be there. And I would believe he'd be in this third tier. But if somehow someone's super hot on him and really want him and offer him over the $9.36 million, he would fall into the second tier where you pick up an extra first-round pick. So you get 2 first-round picks, a second and a third, versus just one of each from the third tier. So if it crosses that threshold, you get 2 first, a second, and a third. That certainly would be interesting. I didn't really think much about the offer sheet angle. I don't think the Devils would be thrilled with the third tier. I think they would probably, if we're being realistic, 2 firsts, a second, and a third, which I still don't think is great. A lot of people would be ecstatic with that because there's a lot of people that I think are overly obsessed with draft capital and all of these things. I'm certainly not one of them for a variety of reasons, but 2 firsts, a second, and a third is not the worst return if you're going to lose a guy like this. But I don't know. It's a very interesting conundrum here. And I feel like if you think you're going to lose him, why wait till an offer sheet comes and just try to, unless people are offering crap deals. But if someone's going to offer something decent for him now and you're not going to pay him the money, then trade him. But it better be for something really good, because I can tell you right now, I know for a fact there is going to be a ton of fans pitchforks out looking for Fitz if he trades him for some mediocre player. And I know that's a fear of a lot of people. I don't think it'll happen. I certainly hope it doesn't happen. But anything can happen, right? We're talking about the New Jersey Devils. We're talking about Fitz. Crazy Alex is at least last night's game had some fun. Yeah, last night was one of the more fun games in a while. It's a shame that we are not still actively kind of in the playoff race, with a series of miracles. They can make it interesting, but let me just check something else. What are the Bruins doing? Ooh, Bruins are down to Nashville. We got to root for the Bruins to lose. I mean, even though it's just so ridiculous to think that we're going to claw back into this, I would love to see it. Gary says, I don't understand why we don't make trades. I mean, there's going to be trades. I just don't think they're going to be trades that people are happy with. I'm thinking it's going to be mostly futures probably coming back if the Devils were smart, unless they could get some decent roster players that they think could have an impact. Now, the thing that's discouraging about that is at one point they thought Dodonov, Glendening, Siplikov, or maybe they didn't even really think Siplikov was going to have an impact if we're being real. They just wanted to get rid of Palat. But we've seen a lot of these depth type moves, the Sprong-esque type moves that are not needle moving moves, and they're kind of nothing moves. Like, I think we're all beyond tired of the nothing moves. Go out there and get a real winger for Jack to play with, period. That is the task. This is a pass-fail mission. Get the winger or not, pass, fail. Nothing in between. And I'm not saying this has to be done tomorrow, by the way. It has to be done between tomorrow and the offseason, for sure. We cannot go into next season, the 26-27 season. October cannot come around where we're still sitting here talking about who are the other two guys in the top 6. Like, that cannot happen again. We've seen the same movie way too many times. It's always going to have the same ending, an underwhelming season, which could range from catastrophic, missing the playoffs like this season, N23-24, to just downright awful, which was last season, limping into the playoffs and just getting smacked by the Hurricanes in 5 games. We've seen the movie already. We know the ending. Something's got to give, and the top 6 winger needs to be brought in immediately. No more games, no more bullshit patchwork fixes, no more reaches, no more finding guys overseas, no more retreads like Tatar. None of it. Nothing short of a bona fide top 6 winger. And when I say bona fide top 6 winger, I think most people know exactly what that means. A player who has played in a top 6 role for the majority of their career. It was not a stretch type move, that they're a legit top 6 guy on any team they go to. That is the type of guy that we need for Jack. And if we fail to get it, we're going to be looking at another season of mediocrity at best and tragedy at worst. Rob says, I don't want Garland. Neither do I. Shout out to Steve the Maniac. We were talking about this earlier. He was like, watch Fitz trade for Nemo for Garland. I'm like, there's no way. Like I said, if nothing else, the one thing I will say about Fitz is he's never really made like moves where he got ripped off or gave up a young, promising piece like Nemo for junk. Like, I just don't think that's going to happen. Isaiah says, are we getting into the playoffs? Ooh, Isaiah, I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, Isaiah. It's not looking good. It's not looking good at all. Ritter Engine says, Fitz fired yet? That bum. No, he's here. Gary says, hey, Ace, what's wrong with our GM? Is he in hibernation? Well, I think there's a lot wrong with him. But a lot of people are, saw some of the deals happening today, and they're like, why aren't the Devils doing anything? Like, the Devils are certainly going to make some moves tomorrow. And again, they're not going to bring back, more than likely, they're not going to bring back pieces that anyone's going to be excited about, but they could be moves that help set the table for future moves. Obviously, clearing up cap space would be a great objective to get done. Obviously, the more cap space you have, the more leeway you have in free agency or in future trades to address the many holes on this roster. And hopefully we can free up some of that cap space. I think there's a ton of different ways it could happen, obviously, with all the names being mentioned. And like I said, Nemo is going to get paid a lot of money, whether it's by the Devils or somebody else. And that's definitely going to play a big part in that whole situation with him. What's going on, RME? Ritter Engine says, need to get rid of Mercer and Hamilton. I don't agree that the Devils need to get rid of Mercer. I certainly would be willing to if there, again, is a sensible deal that upgrades the team on paper. Because if you just trade Mercer for more spare parts, you're creating another hole that Fitz is going to have to fix in the future. I do like Mercer. I do think ideally he's a nice third line player. He's a guy that Fitz thought was going to be a top 6 guy heading into the season. And for a while he looked like he could be. And then the whole team just kind of fell off a cliff. Oh yeah. By the way, American Swagger, folks, if you're a USA Hockey fan, American Swagger, hoodies and t-shirts available on the website. Link pinned at the top of the chat. And on the back, we got the Billy G. We got the Billy G motto, folks. The Billy G motto, whatever it takes. American Swagger. I'm going to be high off this gold medal win until October because we have nothing else as Devils fans. But American Swagger, hoodies and t-shirts, link pinned in the chat. Check it out. But in terms of Mercer, I'd be fine if we kept him. Again, if there's a deal to improve the team, by all means, trade him. But don't just trade him for junk. We have Kreider to the Devils for Mercer, Hamilton, and 2/3. I would certainly pass on that. I'm all set on Kreider. Nico says, Ace, what's up? Hope to God Fitz doesn't move out Nemo. I'll riot. Listen, I don't want to move Nemo either, but if we could bring in a legit scoring winger, preferably one of a physical variety, I would consider it. But for me, Kyrou, I don't think is that guy. I would love Kyrou here, but get him some other way without trading Nemo. Figure out a different way to obtain him if he's truly on the block and available, which it seems like St. Louis is open for business, and we'll be trading a bunch of guys. Figure out a different way to get Kyrou without using Nemo. Collect Record says, I have to admit, I'm terrified by what Fitz may do. I'm really not. Like I said, of all my complaints about him, he doesn't really make terrible deals. He just won't make any deals. I think I'd rather have no deals or a low amount of deals versus like horrible ones. I don't think he's going to make a horrible one. Isaiah says we just got to beat Fitzgerald, NY Jets. What? Ritter Engine, this organization is a damn country club. Isaiah, New Jersey could go on a nice 10-year run. Well, unfortunately, it's been mostly pain and suffering for the fans of the New Jersey Devils. They have not had back-to-back playoff appearances in 15 seasons, folks. No news to me, but just to hear a national broadcast say it last night, it really just was an extra kind of kick in the balls, just to really just, sit there and stew on that. Just years and years of inefficiency. Gary says, just fire Fitz. Isaiah, I don't want to fire him because he's a nice guy and we shouldn't hold him against him at the likes. I don't know what Isaiah is saying. I'm sure he's a nice guy. I've said this before, and I'd probably love to have a beer with him, but I don't want him general managing my hockey team. Gary says it's a sprung-like move. You, Devils better not trade anyone. We need everyone for the playoffs. The comeback is on. Oh, buddy. What you? What are you on tonight? You're definitely on something. The playoffs or the comeback is on. I mean, come on. There's certainly going to be some trades tomorrow. Hopefully we could get some help, but if nothing else, let's free up some cap space so we could try to do something in the summer. Crazy Alex says trading Nemo could be the dumbest thing ever in my eyes, at least. Yeah, but if we get a start, it all depends on what comes back. You can't just say in a vacuum like trading Nemo would be the dumbest thing ever, because if hypothetically, right, this is not going to happen. But let's just say he was in a package for Brady Tkachuk or Austin Matthews. Well, then I'd have to imagine most people would be like, okay, well, that was a good trade to make. Gary says, I want Timo Meier to stay, could trade Bratt. I don't think Fitz is going to break up the core anytime soon. I think he is in love with this core. I don't think he has it in him to trade any of them. And if he was, I would be beyond stunned if it happened tomorrow. I think that would be a summer thing, if anything. And I don't think it's going to happen in the summer either. The Shadow 590, if we get Garland, I'm rioting. That would be nothing more than a move to further entice Quinn to sign here in a desperation attempt for Fitzy to fix the Quinn fumble and save his job. I mean, here's the reality. I don't think his job's in jeopardy whatsoever. And so a lot of people are speculating like, oh, he's going to make a bad trade or a panic trade, this and that. I think he knows he's fine. So I don't think that comes into play at all. I do think there could be some validity to the notion that Fitz has convinced the owners that he still will get Quinn to come here despite fumbling, getting him in that trade when it was basically teed up for him on a silver platter, and everything you want to be going for you in a situation like that was going for him, and he just couldn't free up cap space and just fumbled horribly. A fumble for the ages, a multi-generational fumble. I think the Quinn ship sailed, folks. You guys know where I'm at with that. I think he stays in Minnesota with Billy G, and I think it's just a wrap. I just don't see him leaving that situation to come to the Devils, especially after how they showed kind of what a disaster they are in failing to get him this year. Yo Home says Boozeface is going to dump Nemo for half a bag of Doritos. Again, I don't think so. Curtis says, hey, man, how's it going? Here's what Pierre LeBrun said about Nemec. New Jersey happy to keep him, but if there's a deal that upgrades their forwards in a real way, they're going to listen. And I think that's sensible. I think that makes perfect sense. You don't trade Nemo for junk, but if someone comes knocking with a big-time forward, you got to consider it. Yo Home says, Nemo has to hate this organization after consistently messing with him while crappy Luke plays every day and gets paid. I'm sure it does bother him. Obviously, we've talked about if nothing else, the illusion of a double standard, and I'm sure he feels that way, obviously being so closely connected to it. I'd be so curious to be inside of the Devils' heads and Fitz specifically to think like what is the number that he thinks is fair to pay Nemo versus what is his camp asking for? I mean, realistically, even if you're Fitz, in a delusional world, what could you think the number is? 7 million? And Nemo's asking for 9? Like, what are the real numbers? I certainly would love to know. Justin Smith, they haven't called anyone up from Utica yet. Yeah, down the stretch, I think a lot of us want to see some of the kids get a chance, especially when, I'd imagine some of these guys still believe they could somehow claw into the playoffs, despite it being a mathematical improbability. But closer to the end of the year, when it's over, I would like to see LeChance. I'd like to see some of these other guys get some games. Richie, what's going on? O'Reilly skated this morning with a visor and then said he couldn't go in another day or two. That's interesting. Home says Utica has nobody to call up. Thanks, Fitz. I mean, the cupboard is fairly bare. There's a couple guys that, you could give a look to, but we certainly are very thin at prospects or NHL ready prospects. Cape Dollar says $9 million for Luke. What's Nemec worth? I'd imagine it's somewhere in that similar ballpark, $8 to $9 million bucks. I just don't see how it wouldn't be. Somewhere right around there. Justin says, unfortunately, I think Nemo is gone. FGHY8, Dougie is too old and too much salary. Selling Nemo is nuts. I mean, listen, if Dougie's still here, I'm not going to be upset. If they end up trading Nemo, they're not going to trade Dougie. So I do believe one of the two will be here. I think it'd be crazy to trade both of them. And so, the $9 million in the cap world we're living in now is not as egregious as people are making it out to be. And I do believe at the full $9 million at this point in time, there's likely at least a few teams trying to get Dougie from the Devils. Jay Snow, what's going on? This clown Fitz is going to be brought back, which is the worst thing. He's definitely coming back. I've mentally accepted that a few weeks ago as well. We have a delusional one here. Kucherov to the Devils for Cotter and Brown. Keep dreaming. Holmes, Fitz is about to hit the self-destruct button. Oregano dealer. Dougie is old and Pesci seems right behind him with these injuries. Casey going to make the jump up possibly. Fitz is probably smoking crack. Oh, man. I think Casey still might be hurt, but we also have Ethan Edwards. I mean, there's some pieces on defense. John T, you trade or package a Nemo to get a young stud forward like Nyes. Someone mentioned that on Twitter earlier today in a comment to me. I like Matthew Nyes. I don't think, I don't put him remotely in the same category as a guy like Brady, but I certainly would like Nyes. What a mess Toronto is too, huh? FGHY8 says impact player for Nemo, Quinn Hughes. Never happening. Billy Guerin is going for the cup, and he is going to re-sign Quinn Hughes. Mark my words, folks. Mark my words. I will be coming for so many scalps after that happens because people told me I was crazy, this, that, and the other thing. And the writing's been on the wall for a while for those paying attention. Jay Snow says if they let Fitz buy any players, that's insane. I mean, he's here, my guy. What do you think? He's not like, at least I don't think he's operating under some sort of restrictions. I don't think he's going to be able to bring in anything big time, even if he wanted to. How many guys are really going to be on the move? I mean, there'll be a few, but I don't think he's got it in him to make one of those big time trades. And so if he buys anybody, it's going to be more patchwork type pieces. Isaiah, Martin Brodeur has to get some real people who have that NJ All-Star attitude. Tyler says Philip Forsberg for Nemec and more. It's an interesting one. Very curious to see what path Nashville ends up taking because there's still, let's see. They're still in the mix. I mean, they're 5 points out. Not looking great, but not completely out of it. And people, there's a lot of things kind of going around with Stamkos. Seems like he wants to stay there, but would be open to going to the right situation. And so is Stammer going to be on the move? It's another guy the Devils were linked 2 months ago, and we were linked to him, 2 summers ago. Supposedly we had offers out to him. I would like Stammer at the right price, especially with retention. I don't want to pay that full $8 million salary, but if Nashville is willing to retain, I would take Stammer for 2 years. That's a push towards winning now. Holmes says, remember when Fitz blew the Quinn trade? I'll never forget it. RME says, wish we nabbed McCann last year. No way Seattle moves him now. Yeah, another guy people were talking about last year. Did not happen, obviously. We got sprung. FGHY8, Hamilton at 50% retained to a contender should get big value back. I prefer not to retain on Dougie unless it's, again, you're doing it to get some huge piece back. But I don't think Dougie's going to get the return that many people believe. I think it could be a decent return, but I don't think it's going to be like this mind-blowing, like, oh my God, can you believe we got that for Dougie? Like, I just don't think that's going to happen. Jason, no, it's definitely a money thing. Nemo just changed agents. Oregano dealer, remember when Fitz signed Palat? The Palat contract, I've said before, is going to give generations of Devils fans PTSD. Anytime someone remotely links a guy over 30 years old to the New Jersey Devils, people are going to be like, oh my God, it's Palat 2.0. I've never seen a player contract scar so many people for so long. SJ says he will trade Nemo for Stammer. I can't see it. I can't see it. John T. Quinn will come to New Jersey, guaranteed. Salayev will be the bruiser we need. I don't think Quinn's coming here whatsoever. Would love to be wrong about it. Don't think I will be. And hopefully Salayev pans out. It's another guy that, we picked him number 10, big monster defenseman. Would love to see him be a big part of the blue line for years to come whenever he's NHL ready. But, that's a pick that I wanted to trade for a win now piece. I mean, where would this team be right now had we traded some of these high picks for win now pieces? You go back to, Alex Holtz at number 7. What a complete abomination that was, right? If we had traded that either by itself or in a package for a roster player at the time, where would we be? The number 2 overall with Nemo, the number 10 that we took Salayev with, like these were all chances to make a push towards winning now. And instead we decided to draft with the pick. I think it was madness given where the team was at the time. Get win now pieces. Yo, Holmes, remember when Vince traded for Sprong after he was on waivers a few weeks before? Of course I do. FGHY8 says, in what world do you keep $9 million Hamilton and deal Nemo in clown world? Well, it could be in a world where you're getting something for Nemo that obviously you can't get for Dougie. It's all dependent on what, what is being offered for Nemo. Obviously, if you're just talking straight up like, oh, who would you rather have, Dougie or Nemo? I think pretty much everyone's going to pick Nemo. But there is the other side to the coin here, which is other teams are not going to be offering the same things for Dougie that they will for Nemo. Nemo is going to have a higher value. Jason, no, the returns have been crazy. Why hasn't Mercer's name been out there or Dougie's? Not everything's going to leak either, right? Just because we haven't heard anything about it doesn't mean it's not happening. I'm sure Mercer's been discussed by Fitz. And obviously Dougie's been probably an on and off conversation for going random times going back to last summer. We know that he rejected a trade at some point. And so Fitz has had conversations about Dougie. Can he find him a destination where Dougie will agree to go to? We'll see. Gary says Edmonton asked for Nemec. That's interesting. This hat is, I don't even know, actually. It's a flex fit of some kind. But this was not sold. This was a giveaway at an event. James says Nemo and some picks for Brady. Bring Brady to NJ. That's my dream. I would love to see it. I don't think it's going to happen, but I would trade an insane amount. A package that people would probably say I'm crazy for to get Brady Tkachuk. I believe in that guy that much. I think that is a true franchise-altering move. Not many guys like him, and I think if he's ever being shopped by Ottawa, Fitz needs to be all in on getting Brady Tkachuk. I don't think it's going to happen, but if he's dealt and it's not to the Devils, we riot. Doug says, I'm scared for tomorrow. I'm not scared. I think it's going to pretty much play out exactly as I've believed for months. David chimes, Fitz messes contracts and free agency and locker room and drafts and sit on hands at times, but trades he makes are usually good. Yeah, I said that a little while ago. I said, for all my complaints about him, he doesn't make bad trades. He just doesn't make impactful trades or any trades at the time you need them, like when we needed a goalie all of 23-24, and we just drowned slowly. Louis says, everyone is so worried, but the only thing Fitz delivers on deadline day is it takes 2 to tango. Gary, it's the night before the trade deadline, and what have the Devils done? And it's nothing, as that is what our GM does. Well, something's going to happen. I just don't think it's going to be anything people get excited about. But guys are definitely getting dealt tomorrow. Mark my words. Guys will be traded. Richie says he will, but not for 3 years. Guerin will sign him to 3 when Jack's contract expires. You guys are brutal tonight. Remember when Fitz signed Adonov to be our first line left winger and he scored 0 points all year? The crazy part is that is a real statement you just made. He literally did get him to be a top-line winger, and he scored 0 points. Doug, everyone is going to ask about Nemec. I don't know why Fitz is even entertaining the idea of trading him. Because he has value, and they are anticipating a struggle in signing him. It makes sense to see what's out there. I mean, I don't know how people are going to kill him for that. It's seeming like all signs point to a potential brutal contract negotiation, and other teams will probably pony up something decent for him. And so they're taking those calls and they're trying to figure it out. Oregano Dealer says Boston, Nemo for Pasta, 1-for-1, done. Wow. I can't see that happening either, but what is his contract? It's a lot, I thought. Yeah, I mean, he makes 11.25. $11.25 is, I mean, it's not crazy. Collect Records says if Boston wants Nemec, they better be sending Pasta back. There's no way they're going to trade him. That would be wild. I am kind of excited for tomorrow, though, despite the season being lost and, everything being a disaster. It will be interesting to see what's going to be done and who's going to be around for the summer and potentially next season. But follow your boy on X. I meant to say this before. Come on, man. I just dropped the link in the chat, or you could just run with NJD. Follow me on X. Trying to get a little more involved on there. Kind of just chatting with folks and putting out random comments and thoughts. The stream of consciousness on the World Wide Webs. But running with NJD, follow your boy on X. Yeah, Pasternak. I think you guys are dreaming, but that would be... Rendich says, I'm pretty sure we have a better chance of trading for Brady than Fitz getting fired with this ownership group. I wish I had faith we could get Brady. I think he is the guy to target. I would just call Ottawa unsolicited and be like, yo, here it is. Can you turn this package down and really try to force their hand? But I think he's going to be there at least till the summer. David says, Nemo probably a bridge guy in the first round plus third pick. A bridge guy in the first round plus third pick offer sheet range. Jason says, no way he's getting more than $9 million. Not from the Devils, but if someone's desperate, I wouldn't be totally stunned if someone offered a little more than that for the offer sheet. Doug says, and after all they put Hamilton through over the summer, he's lost all of his will to stay here. You could see it. I honestly think he doesn't mind the nonsense. I think he doesn't want to leave. I think he's engaged or recently married. And his wife or whatever likes the area, and I'm sure he likes the area too. I think he's perfectly fine with staying here. Oregano, no playoffs, but it'll be good to see Grits and everyone gel and build chemistry. There's always next year. I'm tired of looking towards next year. Fitz for new Iran Supreme Leader. And that's right, Doug. The future is always bright. That is right. Protect your retinas. The future is just retina burning bright. Sunrise Arts Cinema, I'm not getting my hopes up. I'll be surprised if it's a big splash. It's not going to be a big splash. Fitz always nibbling around the edges. Instead of chicken parm, he offers up day-old bruschetta. Gary says we need a Tage Thompson-like player. Tage was super high on my list. A lot of people were speculating earlier in the season when Buffalo was in the toilet that he could potentially be dealt. I was obviously salivating over the idea of that. I've always liked Tage Thompson, and he is now a forever legend to me for being on Team USA, which brought home the gold. All of those guys will forever hold a special place in my heart. David says, Nemo more a bridge guy until he proves defensive game. $5 million, 2 years, then big payday if he does what I think. Extending long-term based on what he's done so far is foolish for Nemo and the team. It's definitely not foolish for Nemo. All these guys, I think these bridge deals that everyone fantasizes about guys signing, I think they're going to become less and less frequent because guys want to secure the bag. Like, so many things could happen. You could get a freak injury. You could just have a horrible seat. Like, there's just too many factors, right? And so if you're talking about a guy like Nemo, you're like, okay, I'll bridge him for 2 years at $5 million. And then if he performs, what you if you're his agent or if you're the team, whatever it is, you're talking about after the bridge deal, then him signing a deal for like what, 10 million, 11 million a year versus trying to get the max length at 8 million now. Like, I think the guys rather secure that 8 million for 7 years now versus play on the bridge deal, hope everything goes well, and then sign for more money. I don't know. You know, you do see it sometimes, but I do think it's going to become more rare as time goes on because I think everyone just wants to lock up the guaranteed payday. Michael says, correct me if I'm wrong, but we have only made the playoffs twice in the last 15 years. 3 times. We made it since the 2012 Cup Finals. We've made the playoffs 3 times. The 2017-18 season, which saw Taylor Hall, one of the greatest regular season New Jersey Devils performances of all time, dragged a mediocre Devils team, mediocre at best, dragged that team on his back to the postseason before we got put out by the Lightning in 5 games. That was 17-18, the rookie season of both Nico Hischier and Jesper Bratt. Then we had a bunch of seasons of sucking. 22-23 looked like it was the turnaround, a franchise record-setting season with 112 points, beating the Rangers in that beautiful 7-game series in the first round, and then ultimately smashed by Carolina in the second round in 5 games. And then obviously last season, the 24-25 season, which saw us smacked in the first round once again by our daddy, our father, the Carolina Hurricanes. So it has been 3 playoff appearances with 0 back-to-back playoff appearances. Just absolutely disgusting statistics all around. Doug says, if you get Nemec on a $6-7 million deal for 5 to 6 years, that's the most ideal scenario. Yeah, of course, but Nemo's not signing that. I promise you he's not signing that. FGHY8, Hamilton has points on most Devils goals the past 15 games or so. He's hot on a hot garbage team that can't score. Yeah, listen, people can say whatever they want about Dougie, but he produces offense, period. And I do think there are teams out there that will want what he brings. Let's see if he's still a Devil tomorrow or if we've seen the last game of Dougie Hamilton. I won't be upset if he's still here. I still think he has tremendous value. A lot of people are super down on him, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that he makes $9 million. But again, $9 million in the current cap climate we're in is not this horrible deal that people are making it out to be. SJ says, Nemo at about a 0.5 point per game. That is really good for a 22-year-old. Yeah. Yeah, and he hasn't quite hit the level he was at before he had that injury. Prior to that, he was lights out. Oregano there says, Garland is Fitzy's next big game hunt. I certainly hope not. Richie says, could see Fitz offering Nemo for O'Reilly. I can't. So that's the type of deal and the type of deals that people are talking about that I simply do not think Fitz will make. I will give him that much credit. Again, for as many complaints about him that I have with things he's done or not done over the years, for people to believe that he's going to make one of these bad trades, I just don't know what you're basing it on. And I guess you're just basing it on his overall ineptitude that he's shown, but he hasn't shown it in this regard of just making bad trades. Like, of all the things you could say about him, that's one thing that I do not think would be fair. And I always try to be fair. Whether you guys agree or not, I always try to be fair on this program. And I would never say that Fitz is out here making bad trades. I'm just going to say he's not making the right ones or overall not making enough trades. But bad trades is not one of his calling cards. Snow says that's a problem with Fitz, though. He thinks he has to win every trade. We've talked about this before as well, and I do think there's some validity to this. Some of the best trades you could make in terms of actually improving a team and moving them forward towards contending status, they're not going to appear to be these landslide victories on paper in the moment. In the moment. Now, you have to see how the trade plays out, but if you're looking to win these deals, like it seems like Fitz may be kind of fixated on that, you might get nowhere, because sometimes the most impactful deals are ones that are tough to make and that are somewhat of a gamble or questionable at the time you make them. They're not all going to be obvious, like, oh, no-brainer deals. Oregano Dealer says Nemo for Old Man O'Reilly would be a massive mistake, so very likely, actually. No, I have to disagree. I don't think that's happening. Oregano Dealer says, I love USA Hockey, as do I. Richie says, that old man is a beast, and a center would allow Jack to be moved to wing where it would free Jack up. Not good long-term, but I could see Fitz doing this. Just the name, I swear, if Fitz trades away Nemo for a 35-year-old win now, I'll have a heart attack. It would need to be a one-for-one like Larson Hall trade. Fitz is not doing that, guys. I promise. Fitz is not going to trade Nemo for a 35-year-old. Everybody calm down. Everybody calm down. Luke says it hurts talking about this team fire. Fitz. Sunrise Art Cinema. Everyone take the emotion out of the Nemo hypothetical. All depends on what you get. Exactly. He's not going to trade him for crap. I mean, people are, be fair about it. Fitz hasn't made one of these terrible trades like people are saying they're afraid he's going to do. It's not going to happen. Louis says Brad has a full no move clause. He's not going anywhere. I don't think the Devils would even trade him if he didn't have one. Per says, do you think that the Devils are going to make the playoffs? No, unfortunately not. They would have to basically win every game except for 2 the rest of the way to make it. Richie says maybe Quinn comes here in 3 years after BG locking him up for 3 years, $45 million. It's possible. I just don't think it's likely. I think the ship has sailed. Doug, got to think if they won 2 games in those 5-game losing streaks and 1 game in each of the 4-game losing streaks, that's 12 points and we're in the wild card spot. Yeah, coulda, woulda, shoulda. It's painful that there were so many opportunities and games that they just did not show up for, or games they let slip away, where when you look back, like, yeah, had they won even a few of those games, the outlook of this season looks entirely different. We would all be having very different conversations right now, the night before the trade deadline, and the trade deadline itself could look very different. But here we are. And with where the Devils are, it makes it very interesting and somewhat unpredictable as to what they're going to do, because there is so many possibilities. Like we've talked about, Nemo and Dougie, the 2 big names on defense. I do think there's a very good chance one of the 2 gets traded. And then you go to the rest of the defense, guy like Kovacevic, a guy like Siegs, a guy like Dilly. Is there any appetite to move one of those guys in conjunction with either Dougie or Nemo? Does Fitz get caught up in the Cody Glass potential offers and sell off Glass for a return? I don't want to see that either, but that is something that could happen. If someone offers a first and something else for Cody Glass, or maybe even a first, Fitz might not be able to resist. Now, I wouldn't want to do it because, again, that's creating another hole that you're going to have to fix. Center has been a pain point for this club for a while, and it seems like, at least for now, we have 4 serviceable centers, and I would not want to trade one away to then rely on Fitz to go find another one. Like, it took way too long for it to get sorted out this time around. Why are we going to go back and do this all over again? I think it would be insane. Dawson Mercer, another guy that teams will be calling on. Is there an appetite to move on from Mercer, depending on what you could get for him? I wouldn't, just like everybody else, I wouldn't be opposed to it. I'm not going to trade him just to get rid of him. I like Mercer. I think he has tremendous value to this team and to other teams. But if you could get a clear upgrade for a position of need, you got to listen. David Chime says he's going to end up scapegoating Keefe after all. I think so. I really think so. All right, I got to skip ahead here, guys. My bad. I hit the like. Thank you. Nick says, I think the Devils get Kyrou. I would love Kyrou. I just don't want to trade Nemo for him. Michael's Nemo is the closest thing to a clutch player as the Devils have. Yeah, he's got the ice in the veins. Ice in the veins, Nemo. Ari says, love the 3 waivers today. Just the name Nemo for Stützle, 1-for-1. If we're trading with Ottawa, we got to be bringing back Brady Tkachuk. Stick Figs, what would you throw in for a package for Connor McDavid? I'd say as a base, Nemo plus Dougie plus Jack gives Steve McRae to Canada. Samuel, this team isn't going to change much next year. Fitz is ballless and can't pull the trigger on a trade that makes a difference. That's kind of my knock on him too. I mean, in my opinion, there hasn't been like a true impactful trade since Timo Meier. Would love to see something done. Obviously, whether it's, you know, tomorrow or in the summer, I do think it's way more likely in the summer. But we will see. Can we land a big piece that truly helps, or is it going to be more patchwork nonsense? Sprong-esque type moves. M. Can't stand you says, cue the stammers, 2 old whiners. In the meantime, he has 28 goals. Yeah, the people that said that, I mean, they've been clubbed over the head a long time ago in terms of being proven wrong. Yeah, Potato from Mars says, Vegas dropped Holtz to waivers. I saw that. A lot of people were like, claim Holtz, claim Holtz. Snow said, Fitz thinks he's going to get a bona fide top 6 winger in the next day for one of our D-men. It won't happen. No, but I do think it is possible with the package. Cisco Kid says Stamkos said he will not waive his no trade clause per David Pagnotta. That's not what I read. Unless is this something new, Cisco Kid? Because the last thing I read was that he would consider it. Stick Figs, what do you think we end up doing with Dawes? He has to be hungry to really start his NHL career. If I had to predict, I don't think we do anything. I think he plays the rest of the season in Utica and then he signs somewhere else in the summer. That's my prediction. Palat traumatic stress disorder. Nick Gallo has a lot of guys moving. He says Nemec. There's no way Nemec and Hamilton are getting traded. I mean, this is a lot of pieces you're predicting here, Nick. Nemec, Mercer, Hamilton, Cotter, Kovacevic, and potentially Glass and Siegenthaler are all going to be gone. Zero chance there's that many moves. Justin Ames says, yo, Ace, remember when Bobby Boucher showed up halftime and the Mud Dogs won the Bourbon Bowl? Do you? The Water Boy, a classic. My little nephews love the Water Boy. He spit in the cooler. Richie says, Stammer now has 30 goals and on pace for 40. Wow. What a stallion in his old age. M. Cansan says, crazy that Buffalo is a buyer this deadline. Yeah, Buffalo is making a push. Good for them. Good for Lindy. Good for my man, Tage Thompson. I'd like to see them make some noise in the playoffs. Their poor fan base has suffered for so long. So long. Samuel's here. Fitz is trying to sign Megan Keller for Jack's line. 2 golden goal scorers on the same line. John. Hello, John. Hi, Ace. Would you trade Mercer, Casey, and a 2027 first for Shane Wright out of Seattle? We then have our 3C. That's a tough one. That does seem pretty steep for Shane Wright, in my opinion. I would like Shane Wright. Don't get me wrong. I'd love Shane Wright. But do I want to pay that price for Shane Wright? It seems a little steep. But it seems like, despite, I guess someone had a report the other day that said it was a buyer's market. Now everyone's saying everyone's going for crazy prices. It's a seller's market. But yeah, I mean, Shane Wright's young, promising center. Mercer, Casey, and the first. The main reason, listen, you guys know I don't personally value the draft picks that much because they're not helping this group win anytime soon. And so I want to trade them anyway. But the thing that would sting me in this one is that if we trade the first, that's one less first we have to make other more meaningful moves if they're available. But I would love Shane Wright. You know, I'd rather trade like Mercer, Casey in a second, or like a second and a third. But I'm not going to say definitively no, but looking at it quickly, it seems a little steep. And I would prefer to try to use those picks towards the big deal or a big deal if there is one. Yeah, some of these comments are insane. Some of you people are nuts with some of the stuff you think of. I can't even put it on the screen. This is a family-friendly show. Jason says winning games down the stretch is going to keep Fitz here. I think the ownership group has already decided he's going to be here regardless, if I'm being honest. Matt B. Ace, would I do a trade revolving around Nyes and Nemec? I definitely consider it. Jason says he's going to sell the owners on injuries again. It does seem like he does lean on that excuse, but it's like it happens every year. So you need to have a group that's not going to implode when Jack Hughes goes down. And that's exactly what happened this year. Pretty sad. Tasha says, funny enough, I think this season's been our best injury season as of late. And there's been a lot of injuries. Stiz, done with this team, canceled my season tickets. Fitz blew this team up bad. I can't say you're wrong, my guy. I mean, he really stepped into a great situation here and just made an absolute mess of it. Danny says, Brat, Nemec, and picks for Brady Tkachuk. I'd do that in a heartbeat. Cotter for Matthew Olivier. That's a pipe dream. You're not getting – they're probably not moving Olivier. I love Olivier. I would love him for sure, but you're not getting him for Cotter. Doug says, Chicago cut season is what this year will be remembered as, also the fumble of Quinn. Yeah, for me, the three things that are going to define this season is Chicago cut, the Fitz fumble of Quinn Hughes, and then I got to throw in Jack the golden goal. Those are kind of the three headlines on the season. Oregano dealer, I'm dreaming big, Ace. That's all we could do at this point. But what I think this team needs is Jason Robertson, and Dallas could use a Nemo. A lot of people have been throwing his name around. Obviously, I'd love Robertson. My only concern there is that he's going to be an unrestricted free agent, and he's going to want mega dough. Like, do you want to trade a bunch of assets to get Robertson and then have to pay him $13-14 million bucks? It's a difficult one. Jason, yeah, I would take Robertson. I don't know how much he'd ask for in free agency. Dough. Everyone trying to get paid. Gary says, heard Pierre LeBrun mention Kyle Connor to NJ. I wouldn't hate that. I definitely wouldn't hate it. But I would hate it if that was considered like the big move. I would like Kyle Connor and then something more significant than him, but that's probably not likely. Joshua says, go to sleep, Ace. A watched trade deadline never drops. What does that mean? Traveling Devil, what's going on? Fitz is waiting again until everyone is traded. Stiz, been a Devils fan for 2 years, bought into the season tickets, but there's no way in hell I'm renewing. I lost all hope in Fitz. Still love this team, but God, I get it, man. A lot of us are there. It's like we've seen the same things over and over again. We're desperate for change. We're desperate for improvement, and it doesn't seem like he is capable of delivering. You know, it's just the reality of the situation. Given what we've seen, it leaves a lot to be desired. A lot. Natasha said, guys, we all have to think back here. If I had a nickel for every time Fitz was rumored to be in on some big name that we never got, I'd be rich. One Timo Meyer. Yeah, I mean, we've been rumored to everybody since then. David Chimes, Nemo yet to prove NHL defense, unlike Luke. His 7-year lock value is 7 to 7.5, even with upside risk calculation, maybe 8 because he's a righty, a case where a bridge benefits both. Bratt did it. Yeah, but that was a long time ago when Bratt signed his deal. I would gladly pay Nemo the 7.5 times 7 years. I think that's fair, but he's probably going to want more. Tim Frith, what's up? Hey, Ace, should the Devils send Hamilton, Mercer? Oh, my God. Hamilton, Mercer, LaChance, Malik, and 26 and 27 first-rounders to the Senators for Tkachuk and Stützle. Oh, I would do that in a heartbeat. But you're not getting Tkachuk and Stützle for that. But it's nice to dream. Jason says, Lou is the master of trades. Yes, he was. Luke says, Hall has more points than Timo. May not end up being the best trade, and I like Timo. This whole team, though, is having an absolute tragic season. Tragic season. But good for Hall. I think that's just another point to show, like, that something is just going on here. What the hell is going on in New Jersey where guys come here and they just play like crap? Yeah, good for Hall. He's got 30 points. Snow said you would question Lou at the time and then somehow things would work out. Exactly, because he was not looking to make the obvious win trades. He made trades that you were like, ooh, after like, you sure, Lou? And more times than not, it did work out. Obviously, it didn't work out every time. but it worked out a lot. Stiz says, Fitz never had been winning deals for my time. All I've seen was him selling assets after either coming in second or doing nothing till it's too late. It's just a shit show with Fitz at the helm. Can't say that you're wrong. Frankel just had another shutout in the PWHL. Very nice. Jay Snow, Lou knew when to get rid of a player most of the time. David chimes, crazy not outright warranting shock treatment trade Nemo for Eklund and a 1-for-1. Thoughts? Oof. Initial reaction, I say I don't like it. I would like to. I really don't want to trade Nemo unless we're getting something like a wow. Not a, we hope this works out. Stiz, my Canadian friend, so mad about Jack Hughes. I bought a Team USA champ shirt for myself. I want to get him a Canada Suzuki shirt. Is he a Suzuki guy? And listen, that was one of the best hockey games that's probably ever been played in terms of the drama and everything. It's a phenomenal game. Stiz, what do you think of the NJ waivers and what that means for us, the players on waivers for us? Yeah, Siplikov, Dodonov, and Glendening. It's just Fitz attempting to make some cap space to give himself some more breathing room for tomorrow. New Jersey Devils blood, Nemo or Luke, which one has actually delivered more on the ice in their short careers? I mean, it depends how you define it. Overall, I would say Luke Hughes, but if you're just looking like straight up like moment or moments, Nemo won a playoff game for us in double overtime. So, you know, you could use that and say, well, he's won a playoff game in double overtime and Luke's never done that. So he's delivered more. You know, consistently in regular season, I would say Luke for sure. But if you're just looking at kind of bigger picture, I would say Nemo. Tasha says, my sleeper move for tomorrow is sleeper move for Fitz tomorrow is going to be selling nobody. I just can't see it. There's just no way that there's not minimum 2 trades. It's going to happen. Paha says, I have a plan for making the playoffs. 6 wins, 1 loss, 6 wins, 1 loss, 6 wins. I think I'm a genius. Would love to see it. Would absolutely love to see it. Jeremy Proper, Nyes may be available. Maybe Fitz does something. It's possible. But those are going to be moves that require some level of conviction and guts. And I don't know that Fitz is going to have it because it's not going to be cheap, and he's not going to offer them a bunch of junk to be able to get one of those guys. Tasha said, I saw that proper. I'm not holding my breath, but I'd move heaven and earth for Nyes. I like Nyes a lot. Saravo Broadcasting. Mercer Nemitz first for Brady. Matty changed Florida's culture, but who knows if Brady is just like his bro. He is. Those dudes are different. I've said it for years. The Kachuk effect. Those boys are built different. The descendants of Big Walt. I would do anything in my power to get Brady Kachuk here if he's even a potential. Yeah, it seems like an overpay for me for Shane Wright, too. Silver Stingray says, get Matthews. I would love to see that. Not likely either. Brandon T, if we don't grab a top 6 forward anytime soon, I think we're getting Quinn 100%. I don't see how people could believe that. We botched it when it was super easy. You think in a more competitive environment we're able to do it? I don't think so. David chimes, it really is a seller's market. 2 4Cs got first-round picks. Lots of playoff teams have unused cap. The guy who called it a buyer's market is a monk line. First, third, and a fifth for Zito. Richie has Chicago cut, Quinn fumble, Jack golden goal, and Luke scoring 2 goals against us. Allen making the save on Luke's third attempt. Jeremy Proper, why did Fitz reveal that everyone was available? That's not what Lou would do. WTF, does this man not know how to play poker? I don't even think he's trying to play poker. I think he just wants to sort of entice the action, if you will. I think that was what they would call chumming the waters. I think he threw the chum out, and they're hoping the Sharks come. Once the flare went out to the league that the Devils are open for business and a lot of their defensemen could be on the move, that's probably going to induce some phone calls to Fitz. Pa says I would go hard for Nyes. He is Brady type, but cheaper. M. Cansania Ace, Kyle Connor would be an absolute big deal trade. Connor has 68 points in I don't know how many games that is this season. 60 games. Yeah, but listen, I'm not going to get caught up in just the stats. I think Kyle Connor is good, very good player, but he's not the guy we need. I would love to see him with someone else, like I said before, but if that's going to be like the big move, I'm not loving it personally. Z Pleat says, next year at this time, if we're in a similar spot, there's a high probability we might need to trade away Nico. Wouldn't blame him. I'll be honest. I mean, I would, if he doesn't want to re-sign this summer, I would probably trade him in the summer. And I love Nico, and I hope he does want to stay here. But if he's like, I'm not re-signing, I would trade him in the summer for the biggest package possible. Jay Snow, there needs to be a big shakeup because this core just can't get it done. I've been there for a minute now. There needs to be a change. Michael says, Lou pissed me off trading Claude for Steve Thomas after Claude was the Conn Smythe. Well, there was a rift. I forget the whole story, but something happened after the Devils won the cup. And there was kind of a falling out, but it wasn't that bad, obviously, because Lou brought him back at the beginning of the 2000 season, and Claude was a 2-time champ with the Devils. It was beautiful. What a beautiful season. Jay Snow, if they bring back the same team besides a couple of bottom sixers, I'm going to go insane. I hate to tell you, Snow, that's the most likely scenario, in my opinion, is just another, a newer version of what we saw last summer. Doug said Nemo in a package for Philip Forsberg would make me go, wow. M. Cansania, I keep seeing all these names for Brady Tkachuk, but a player like Tkachuk is rare nowadays. Not sure NJ has anything that would entice Ottawa. Oh, come on, man. We got tons of pieces. If he was truly on the block, we could put together a beautiful package. You're talking about we have roster players to offer, Nemo, picks, maybe a prospect. I mean, you have a lot of different pieces to get Brady here if he was truly available. David Chimes, Kyle Connor is an 80 to 100-point player. Only problem is his extension is $12 million times 8, taking him to age 38. We'd have to trade out a contract to get him. But that's probably going to be the case with any impactful piece. There's got to be some salary moved out one way or another. I like Kyle Connor, but again, I don't want that to be the big move because I don't think that would get us to where we need to go. How I got here, Jeremy Proper, 165 and 58 likes. Damn, smash it. Do it for your boy. Hardest working man in Devils media. He's here for the peeps. Thank you. Thank you, Jeremy Proper. Hit the thumbs up for your boy. Natasha, that's enough to entice Brady to force a trade here for his favorite cousin, Tom Fitzgerald. I mean, it's another one where, his wife, I just can't get, you guys are going to get me riled up and I'm going to be mean. And I don't want to be mean. I'm trying to be more positive, but like the Quinn thing was on a silver platter that got botched. And then when you're talking about Tkachuk, Brady Tkachuk is his cousin. Brady Tkachuk's wife is from New Jersey. And obviously the Tkachuk and Hughes families are super close. Like, how many deals could potentially be there for the taking where you have all of these advantages layered on top of each other and you still can't get it over the finish line? It's truly maddening. It's truly maddening. Cisco Kid says, my bad, Stammer is willing to trade. Okay, that's what I thought. You got it's late on, shout out to Quick Check. I got the coffee. It's going to be a late night. It's going to be an early morning. If you're not already aware, I will be doing an all-day live, baby. All-day NHL Trade Deadline Day live. My expectations for this one are much different than last year. So, unfortunately, for those of you that get a kick out of me getting fired up and going crazy, it's not going to happen tomorrow because it's just a different world from last year. RME, Connor would be an awesome top-line team. USA left wing for Jack would have to be a sign and trade as a UFA. Collect records. Didn't Toronto management just say they weren't listening on Nyes, Matthews, or Nylander after their fans were screaming for a shakeup? Yeah, but I think something, this is the new world. There's new stuff coming out all the time on the World Wide Webs. I thought I had seen something about Nyes as well that said, they're not looking to trade him, but if someone blows them away with an offer, he could be available. This is all gamesmanship. Z Pleat says, sounds crazy. How about Nico and Nemo for Brady Tkachuk? I don't know if Ottawa takes that, but losing Nico would suck too, but that's a culture shifting move. Traveling, Fitz is offering McEwen to Donovan and Glendening for Brady. Rendich, Brady would be the perfect winger on Jack's line, and he would bring the right type of toughness and leadership for this team overall. Couldn't agree more. I've been saying it for years. Tons of people flamed me, and Brady Tkachuk's stock has gone nothing but up from when I first started talking about this forever ago. He's not really underground anymore. He was slightly underground back then. Now he's mainstream. SJ Nyes is a beast, always in front of the net. Yeah, and we need that. We need the greasy guys that are going to do the dirty work. We have a lot of, the finesse perimeter. Tasha, collect records. They said they were listening on Nyes, but not the rest. Yeah. David Chimes writes, scoring production may be suppressed by Seattle's all-out defense-only system. Art says we need alphas. Completely agree. And Brady Tkachuk is one of the top alphas in the game. Luke, I've seen so many defensemen traded. Who still wants a defender? Boozeface coming in second. Justin says, still think Bratt to Buffalo. Bratt to Buffalo for what? Luke says, we lose Nico. It's 3.0 rebuild. I don't know that it necessarily means that. Gleason, okay, running. We will get Kyle Connor, but he pushes someone in the scrum every 5 games. He's our guy now. I have no idea what you're talking about, sir. No idea what you're talking about. Tasha, I like how some people here saying Luke is a bust and his age isn't an excuse are out here advocating for Shane Wright, who is still young. The math isn't mathing. It's a fair point. SJ says Connor would transform our offense, put him with Jack. Michael, yeah, Claude wanted to renegotiate his contract after the win. Yeah. Lou was like, we don't do that around here. Brandon says, in the end, we are not getting a top 6 forward. Tom already mentioned he believes in the core. Well, I will say that doesn't necessarily mean that he won't attempt to get a top 6 forward. I do think there is a world where between all the defensemen possibly available, a guy like Mercer, that you could potentially, and I think this would be a challenge, and I think it'd be a challenge that's way above the capabilities of Fitz, but there is a world where you move out enough salary between defensemen and maybe 1 or 2 pieces up front where you could add a top 6 guy with the core 4 intact. Not likely, but it's not impossible. It could be done. Rendich said, I love Nico, but if it's for Brady, I'd offer Nico plus Nemec. I mean, I would love, in a hypothetical fantasy world where we're trading for Brady Tkachuk, I would love for it to be, Nemec, a pick or picks, and something else, or some other pieces. But it'd be hard, man. You're going to have to give up something big to get him, obviously. Snow said, I can't root for Minnie. Every time I watch Quinn play, it makes me mad. It makes me mad too, but he's just so much fun to watch. And I've always liked Quinn, and I like Billy Guerin, and I like Matt Boldy a lot. I've liked Matt Boldy for a while. The Wild will be a team I'm rooting for in the playoffs for sure as well. Potato from Mars 2000. Fitz needs to make his own push for these Team USA players like Minnesota's doing. I mean, the Jack told you, the USA Hockey Brotherhood is real. There's so many great guys from that team. Jason said all day live stick taps for Ace. Yeah, it's going to be a long one. Quinn is a machine major fail. Captain Mofongo, what's up? What's maddening is that Fitzgerald is in charge of the trade deadline. But like, are you really surprised? I'm not. It's disappointing, but I'm not surprised. Not Tasha. I'm seriously debating skipping school tomorrow. Do it, Tasha. Do it. Petition to make the NHL trade deadline should be a federal holiday. I'm kind of surprised it's not in Canada, at least. Chase, no, I can't even chirp you on an all-dayer. It's a long one. Gary says you have Jack Daniels ready, Ace, for tomorrow, and Fitz makes a sprung-like trade. I'll have some booze on hand. But I like I said, very different than last year because my expectations are wildly different now. So I'm not going to be too animated either way, I don't think. It's just, I'd be thrilled if we somehow land a big fish. But Travelin says losing Nico will be another failure of Fitz. Snow, Nico would get you a haul. Snow, Nico would be a perfect 2C on a Stanley Cup winner somewhere. I completely agree with that. And, if you're him, after going through all these terrible seasons in New Jersey and kind of seeing what a mess the team is at the moment, like, why would you not consider going somewhere else where you could be a 2C, not have to feel all the pressure all the time, and you're just like a solid player on the team, but you're not relied on as the guy. And right now, he is one of the guys. It might be better for him to just find a whole new world. Markstrom's not getting traded, David. Let's be serious. Luke, we can't get a 3-4C. Can you imagine trying to replace Nico? No, you're not going to replace a guy like Nico. Or, I mean, everyone's replaceable, but you're not going to replace what he brings. But if he straight up says he's not going to resign, then you're almost, your hand is forced, right? If he wants to resign here, then I don't do it at all. But if he tells you he's not resigning, then I think you got to start thinking about the exit strategy. Ivan says, wouldn't complain about Stamkos, but that move was about a month too late. Better to wait until the offseason. Potentially. Justin says, Bratt to Buffalo for Tuck. I can't see why Buffalo would want to do that. And Tuck's going to get paid a ton of money, too. Travin says, Nico and Jack are the last two players standing if they traded the roster. Brandon, Tom Fitz is chasing for more Cody Glass third, fourth line players guaranteed. Well, it seems like, if we had to bet on it, I would take that bet too. I don't think you're going to see the big impactful piece. I've been trying to get people to brace for it because I do think a lot of people, for some reason, I'm not sure why, are expecting some big name player to come tomorrow. And it's not likely at all. Snow, Tuck is probably going to be a free agent this summer. Boldy's a complete stud. He really is. The Boldy goal in the Olympics through Taves and Makar was so filthy. It really was. To open up the scoring for USA. American swagger. Matt Boldy certainly has American swagger. Hoodies and T-shirts available. Link pinned in the chat. Luke, I still hate the Wild from the Parisi signing. Want them to get swept. To hell with those crumbs. Worst named team in the league. Man, this guy's holding a grudge for a while. Doug, last year when Marchand went for a second, everyone in the chat went apeshit. Marchand would have been a gem for this team, but he had no interest in coming here. David Chime says, I'd love Minnie to knock off Dallas and Colorado. Devils Army for life. I really don't understand why we're interested in Connor Garland. He's another Palat. Hopefully that's just a rumor. That's not true. I don't want Garland either. Travelin says Parisi wanted to leave. Jeremy Proper, let's claim Holtz for old time's sake. That would be super interesting. I can't see them doing it. But what do you really have to lose? Army, Parisi didn't want to leave until Sutter got in his ear. I don't think that's true either. A lot of people say that. I think he knew his father was sick and it just made sense for him to go home. Sometimes it's not, not everything's a conspiracy. Samuel Nico would have to drink himself into rehab if he resigns here. Oh, boy. Yes, right, Richie. Minnesota did not steal Parisi. Parisi was going there because his dad was seriously ill. We tried to keep him, and he said no to be close to his father. That's exactly what I just said. Like, sometimes it's just not a conspiracy, and you're, there's nothing you could do in a spot like that. Brandon, trade deadline is also more expensive. Why would we buy our top 6 forward when the season is gone? I'll tell you why. Because if it's a guy that has years left on his deal, you don't know what other guys are going to be available in the summer. And so I understand, like, you're thinking, like, oh, we're paying this crazy high premium, but I don't think it'd be that much of a premium versus in the summer. If the right guy is available, because if the right guy becomes available now and you don't get him, well, then guess what? Someone else is going to get him. And then you have to move on down your list to somebody else in the summer. So the reason would be to get a guy when they're available, because top end talent is not always so readily available for the position that you need. Look how I just teed that promo, American Swagger. Frank, how about Zaka for Halla? Was that a good trade? Think not. No, but that's not giving away Nemec for, a 35-year-old player. Like, that's very different. Ryan H., LeBron on Shimo Nemec. They've been talking to teams all week. The only way they go down this path and do a blockbuster is if they pick up a first-line type forward, preferably a center. That's interesting. A first-line center. And if that's true, maybe they do have their eyes on a center and moving Jack to wing. That would be interesting. My dog for GM, yes, Nemo is being shopped. Where have you been, sir? Jeremy Proper, Zach never fit in and was drafted too high. Tasha, we could have had Rantanen, but we got Zaka. Luke, Parisi took a long time to choose and even admitted it was decided after Devils didn't re-sign him in the summer. I loved Parisi. He was a dog. Yeah, Zach, pound for pound, one of the toughest Devils, in my opinion, of all time. Went to the corners, crashed the crease, could score many different ways, always gave 100% effort, always brought the hustle. Zach was a great Devil. Gleason, Parisi didn't sign with the Wild because his dad was sick. Devils fans connected those dots, but that's not actually the way it went down or the sequence of events. How do you know, buddy? I don't think anyone knows the true story, but when you find out all the information, it certainly seems like that's definitely a potential scenario. SJ, we don't win without Boldy's solo effort, crucial goal. Yeah, to get the first goal was huge. Took a little bit of the pressure off USA and put a little bit of it on Canada. Jeremy Proper, I was hoping Mercer was going to be a new Parisi. Never did. I mean, Zach was a very good player. Natasha, watch out the IOC. I don't think they can. I think I'm safe there, but who knows, right? Doug, Parisi is a dying breed. He was the ultimate captain. Skill and grit. Completely agree. Tasha says first-line center like Robert Thomas. I think someone's going to really trade a lot for him. Samuel, I wonder how many players have the Devils on their no-trade list. Around the league? That would be interesting to know. Brandon says, man, I don't think we should trade Nemo. He's got the passion. We should only trade him for something that's worth it. A worthwhile, big-time forward. Traveling. No one nowadays compares to the older era of the NHL. Maybe Olivier and Brady. Yeah, they're throwbacks. There's some other guys in the league too, but those are definitely two of the more prominent ones. My dog for Jim says probably sending Nemo to Nashville for Stamkos. See, that I can't see. I just can't see it. RMA Parisi was awesome. I'm actually surprised we don't see his jerseys at all around the Rock. I think many fans trolling from that, and now with Quinn, it makes it impossible to root for them over any other Western team. No, I get all that. But for me, for certain stuff, time heals all wounds, and I am a big Billy Guerin guy, and I do like Quinn, and like I said, I do like Boldy, so I'm kind of over it in that regard. Doug, I'd want Forsberg if he goes to Nashville, but that's a pipe dream. Probably. Travelin said everything around Parisi leaving during that time was because he wanted to go home. Well, not according to resident know-it-all. Was that Gleason that made that comment? Doug, my first ever jersey was Parisi. Very nice. It's a classic. To the comment someone said before about how they're surprised we don't see Parisi jerseys. I mean, when you look around the arena now, the majority of the jerseys are new players or newer players. You very rarely, like, even Marty jerseys are becoming more and more rare, in my opinion. You still see some every game, but the overwhelming majority of the jerseys I see are mostly Jack, and you see a good amount of Nico. Then you'll randomly see some other guys, but they're current players for the most part, like overwhelmingly so. And there are some old heads like myself sprinkled in there with the old school guys. Tasha, I wish no trade teamless were public. Yeah, that'd be amazing. Pro Bolt's another. I hope Nemec stays. Traveling, how can people blame the Wild for getting Quinn? Yeah, it's just sour grapes because we came in second. Everyone sane should hope Nemec stays. Traveling says blame Fitz for effing it up. Gleason, Lou walked Zach to free agency, and the whole JP thing was just a way to cope that we did that. Parisi never said once left for JP. Easier to think that than have your heart ripped out. In the end, it doesn't make much of a difference to me at all, if I'm being honest. But it seems like you have an agenda here. I'm not exactly sure what it is. But, yeah, the resident know-it-all. This was a story, too. If I remember, Parisi also wanted to sign with Sutter, and Sutter did not want to sign in New Jersey. I may be wrong. There was that story, too. But I don't think we've ever had concrete confirmation of any of this. Army traveling, I said, because mini fans trolling us. David Chimes, another trade just announced. 37-year-old winger David Perron rented to Detroit from Ottawa for a 4th-round pick. Vachi Derman, I'm going to say Vachi. I have a 2010 Parisi Olympic jersey. Man, that's a nice one. That's a throwback classic. Crazy to think that that's 16 years old. And crazy to think that that was one of the biggest heartbreaks for USA hockey. And I guess hockey in general for me at the time. Obviously, our boy Zach tied up the gold medal game late. Late in the game, he ties it up to send it to overtime, and then Sid broke our hearts with the golden goal. But the 2026 Team USA went to Milano, Italy, and myself and Traveling Devil were in the building to see true American swagger. True American swagger. Get that beautiful gold medal. Get that beautiful gold for Team USA and get some payback on Canada, who owned us for way too long. Double gold, men's and women's. Double gold, the double. Tosh said, I actually see a lot of Elias jerseys. I haven't really noticed that. Doug, the latest jersey I bought was a Cup Edition Niedermayer. I wanted a retro jersey. Did you buy the Mitchell and Ness one that they put out? I saw they did some other guys too. I think there was a Claude Lemieux, a Holik. There's a few other guys. Tosh said, obviously nowhere near the amount of Jack or Nico's. They're a decent amount. Okay. Doug, the quality of those jerseys are so much nicer too. I love the retro Devils jersey with the stripe. The stripe on the bottom is huge. Devils Army. I talked about this earlier, but I'll go over it again. Ace, what are your thoughts on Kyrou? Would you give up Nemo for him? Personally, I don't think he moves the needle for us. Maybe he's just having a down year on a bad Blues team. So I like Kyrou. I think he would be a great addition for the Devils, but not at the price of Nemo. If there's a way to get Kyrou some other way, I'd be all for it, but I don't want to trade Nemo for him. Kieran Morin, is Nico a leader of men? Love the character and work ethic. It's so impressive, but do guys go to war for him? Nico for Brady. Everyone leads differently. You know, it took me some time getting used to it, but after hearing players talk about him that have either played with him or were playing with him at the time that they talked about him. Not my ideal. Like, my ideal captain for me in my head is more of the fiery variety. And I know a lot of people agree with that too, but not every guy is going to be that way. And that is okay. But I think on this particular Devils club, what hurts is that we don't have enough of the other types of leaders to really drag guys into battle. So I think it's kind of a twofold situation, but listen, I would do almost anything to get Brady. So M. Canstani, don't forget it was captain of Team USA in 2010, Captain American himself, Jamie Langs. I'll never forget. Jamie Langenbrunner, legend. SJ, Nico is not vocal, but he certainly leads by example. He goes to the net. Who else does that on this team? Traveling says, I knew we were going to witness history back in February 2025 when we got our ticket. Yeah, basically a year in advance. Man, I still can't believe we were there. It's crazy. Wild stuff. Pro Bolt says nothing is going to happen at the deadline for the Devils. We're definitely trading a few guys. Or a couple guys at least. We need a 6'5" net front guy. That would be nice. Samuel, my first jersey was a driver. Now I wear an old CCM no name. Very nice. I wear blanks sometimes too. I have some practice jerseys I like, but usually the Marty. Pro Bowl, I just want Nemec to sign a bridge deal with the Devils and not demand a Luke Hughes deal. Yeah, we all want that. But if you're Nemo, what would you do? Think about that. Let's just be realistic. If you were in Shimo Nemec's shoes, what would you do with all the information we have available to us? M. Canstani says Nico is fiery and he leads by example. SJ Timo should always be in net front, but he's a sniper, so he shoots often, which is fine. Yeah, I think Timo could get it done down low as a net front guy, and he also could be lurking near the circle and just ripping off beautiful one-timers. The beautiful ways for Timo Meier to get goals. Yeah, I agree with Snow. The problem is the supporting cast around Nico. Exactly. And that's the team at large, including Jack. We need the right guys around them. The supporting cast has never been the right cast. That's just the reality. Rendich, we were spoiled by Scott Stevens. We'll never have a captain to meet that standard. It does not mean Nico is a bad captain. Yeah, and that's a fair point. I do think for the old school people that saw the Stevens era, it's the same thing with Marty as a goalie, right? How are you going to measure every goalie in the future for the Devils against Marty? It's the same thing with captains. We saw the best of the best, and using them as a measuring stick or a comparison tool is wildly unfair to the newer guys because they're just never going to measure up. They just can't. RME, Fitz effed up not getting summer surgery for Nason. Dude waited too long and missed time, was never right this year. That's not on Fitz. That was a Nason decision, if I'm not mistaken. Nason thought he didn't need to do it, and then he realized it was a mistake putting it off, and here we are. Pro Bowl says Brady is staying in Ottawa. Accepted. I think so, but not forever. But then he'll probably go to the Panthers. Snow, I want Timo always going to the blue. Travelin says you may be wrong, Pro Bowl. I would love for him to be wrong. Brady wants a cup. Doug says Canadian media is so toxic they drive out great players that can't win in their toxic environment. Oh, there's a lot going on there. Gleason, no one cares about having fiery winners when you're winning anyway. It's only when you lose that it seems more important. Also, a captain can be a Barkov type, and you could have other fiery players. Yeah, that's back to the point of the supporting cast has never been correct. Doug, the Leafs hold the longest cup drought and blame it on Austin Matthews. SJ, we need a Brady-type guy, but those guys are usually first-rounders like Tom Wilson. Absolutely love Tom Wilson, too. Traveling, his bro has two. They just won gold. He wants a cup. Yes, he does. Tasha said Tom Wilson is my equivalent to Ace's Brady. I would love Tom Wilson, too. Tom Wilson is a stallion. Jason, no, Timo played that net front role versus the Rangers. Shesterkin was ready to kill him. It was great. Yeah, Timo was really under their skin, just agitating the hell out of them the entire series. It was a phenomenal performance. I don't think Timo registered a point in the series, but he certainly had a big impact, despite not registering a point. He was just all over the place. David Chimes, just for the hell of it, would you trade Jack for Brady straight up? That's a tough one. As much as it kills me to say no, I think I'm going to have to say no. But if you had asked me that a month ago, I would have said yes with no question. I have to say, if I'm being completely honest, I do think Jack Hughes is a new man after scoring that goal. And not even necessarily scoring the goal, after the Olympic experience in so many ways. I think he matured several years in just a few weeks in Milano. When you just see his interviews and the way he speaks now, it just seems like this like magical switch flipped and he's like a new person. And hopefully that leads to success in the NHL. So now I would say no. A month ago, I would have said yes, but times have changed. Times have changed. Titus Dream says, man, results matter. This team has turtled too much for me to think Nico is a good captain. And I think that's a fair point too. When a team just kind of implodes the way they have several seasons, you do have to look at the leadership group and be like, what the hell's going on? Now, obviously they can only do so much and they don't control everything, but there is a track record of pretty poor results with him as the captain. I mean, and again, how much of that can you blame on Fitz? Certainly a lot of it, obviously. Roster construction is a big part of it, but some of the games where this team just did not look prepared or want to play whatsoever, I think it's a fair question. Travelin says, then again, I think Florida's cup window is over. Definitely not. Just the fatigue caught up to them. They'll be back next year. Jay Snow, guys like Timo play that heavy game come the playoffs. Yeah, the issue is we got to get to the playoffs. Tasha said, I wish we had more Timos on this team, as do I. When people talk about trading Timo, I always say we need more Timos, not less. We need to keep Timo. I agree, need more Timos. Gleason, Fitz should have given Nason the procedure himself. That's his biggest fault of all, is he sucks as a doctor. What? Austin, all metropolitan teams losing tonight but the Blue Jackets. Well, I think at this point, it's funny. People were on the fence about this earlier in the season. Most people thought it would be easier to get the third spot in the Metro versus the wild card second spot. But now it seems like the wild card might be the easier way, with Pittsburgh and the Islanders just continuing to play really well. Jason, we need more sandpaper in the forward group. Completely agree. Bring in the sandpaper. Hire Fitz, fire Keefe. Keefe is the problem. His systems can't extract anything but losses and drops in production out of this group. I'll never believe this, sir, that Keefe is the problem. Could he be part of the problem? Sure, he could be. But the biggest problem is that these players cannot score goals. And I cannot blame Keefe for that. Richie, different game, but the captains around the league in the mid-90s and into the 2000s were sick. Stevens, Messier, Lindros, name a few. Nasty, great players who took no shit. It was a different world, man, and it was a better one for sure. Such animals from that era of the NHL. What a great time. It truly was special to be an NHL fan during that era. So many great legends. Pro Bowl says NJ needs a coach like Berube. Pro Bowl, NJ needs to have the team around Jack, Keefe, and Fitzgerald. Keefe and Fitzgerald have to go, but who would be the new head coach? I mean, if Keefe gets canned, my short list would probably be Pete DeBoer, Torts, I'd have to think. Doug said, Devils also failed to Corey, man. He deserved a better team in front of him. I think you're talking about Schneider. Snow, Jack cannot rest on an Olympic goal. He needs to be motivated and have a big offseason. Completely agree. Justin said, I agree. Jack looks leveled up after that golden goal. He seems like a new person to me. I mean, hearing his interviews typically before the Olympics and after the Olympics, it's like it's night and day. It's truly remarkable. I think he really underwent a serious transformation while in Italy. And like I said before the Olympics, I said just that. I said a lot of times something like this could really be a maturing process and a growth process for a guy like Jack to be on a team and living with these guys and hanging out off the ice with all of these fiery competitors can do wonders for you. And it certainly seems like that happened to a level that I could have only dreamed of. Like, who would have ever seen this level of transformation? I didn't see it. I thought it would definitely help him, but I feel like it's way more than we could have ever dreamed of. Army, we really need a top 6 natural left winger before anything else. Richie, up to the point of the Olympics, I thought Jack was a diva. Now a new man and grew up being around winners and seasoned great players. Couldn't agree more. Guy gets his teeth knocked out and then comes back and scores the golden goal. Like, you can't make this stuff up. Hollywood script type shit. Natasha, maybe the break from coaching did him good. Gleason, remember when all our dumb fans thought Corey sucked when he was in his prime because he wasn't Brodeur and the team was horrible? Yeah, I remember. He had some great stats on bad Devils teams. If it wasn't for him, we probably would have been in a lottery pick for one of those seasons. Good night, Tasha. Good luck smuggling your phone or cutting school tomorrow. My dog for GM says, look like Nemec for Connor Garland 1-for-1. There's no way. Fitz is not that dumb. Don't believe it, Tasha. Hit the like for Ace. Thanks, Tasha. Hit the like for your boy. American swagger. My dog for James says Fitz is absolutely safe. Ownership loves him, apparently. I mean, I think that's pretty apparent. The fact that he's still here. Jason Berube's heading for the unemployment line. Samuel, look at the shots and scoring percentages. You will know who to blame. Gleason said, don't act like some of y'all didn't want Berube here. He was definitely on my short list. But again, I cannot blame, like, Toronto has had their troubles for years now. Obviously not in the regular season. Keefe got them to the playoffs, but it just seems like there definitely seems to be a Maple Leafs curse. Swan Fox looked like Luke finally showed up last night. Yeah, it looked like he had the jump. Love to see it. Maybe he's getting the Hughes family post-Olympic bump, and that's going to fuel him. Like I said, I think last night, I truly believe that Luke is going to look to level up his game as soon as possible and ensure that he is in the mix for the 2030 Team USA team, because I do think him being home, watching his brothers and his parents all over Italy and on TV and all that stuff, I do think that it, lit a fire under him. Pro Bowl, I'd take someone like David Carl or Jay Pandolfo for a head coach when Keefe gets fired. I would love Pando, but I think he's basically has his dream job now, and I don't know if he'll leave it. Hokage, Jack got himself a Canadian girlfriend, made him a bit more scritty. Rendich, LeBron, Fitz's mouthpiece in the media, basically confirmed Nemec's ask starts with the Luke contract. And I think a lot of us predicted this for a while. It seemed pretty obvious, right? Like, Luke gets that money, perfect. I'm a comparable player. Give me the same contract. Jack took their gold and their chick. Justin, what trades for NJ do you realistically see tomorrow? I think at least one defenseman will be dealt, possibly two, and I could see a couple other pieces being moved too. I don't think we're getting anything big in return. It's not going to be the blockbuster that people are hoping for, but I do think there's definitely moves made. Frank, how many teams are clamoring for any of our defensemen excluding Nemec? Not many. I think there's definitely people interested in Dougie, and I would believe there's people interested in Kovacevic as well. Pro Bolt says if Nemec asks for a Luke type of deal and won't budge, then trade him. Exactly. That may have already happened. We don't know. So that could be a severe factor in pushing these Nemo talks. My dog for GM says, I hope Luke gets better. He certainly will, man. He's 22 years old, and he's playing defense. Defenders take longer to develop. Everyone has to remember he's 22 years old. He's a baby. A baby. Snow says, I have a feeling Fitz does nothing. Definitely not. He's definitely going to at least make 2 trades. Minimum. SJ Jack should work on his lower body strength. He's pretty light down there. Brat has strong lower body. Bratter's got tree trunks for legs. Definitely a little bullish on the puck. Backs and racks. Funny thinking Luke was sitting home alone for 2 weeks during the Olympics. My dog for GM, I could see Siegenthaler being moved. Yeah, so could I. I think Fitz has all the feelers out there. And we may end up trading 2 defensemen tomorrow. Whether that's a Dougie or a Nemo and a guy like Siegs or a guy like Kovacevic, possibly even a Dilly. I think there's more possibilities for tomorrow than any other deadline I could remember for the Devils in recent memory. Traveling Devil, Helly robbed the Canadians. Jack was the lucky one to score the goal. Yeah, Hellebuck was a beast. Absolute beast. Army says he was definitely watching Home Alone 1 and 2. Jason, no, Grits isn't a big guy, but he's strong. He's actually... He's not small. And another guy that I think I mentioned this after I talked to him in person and met him, Cody Glass is deceivingly large. Much bigger than you would imagine. Cody Glass has some size. Hey, I really like Cody Glass. If we trade him, I'm going to be pissed. Justin says Brad is Mr. Softy. I don't think he's as soft as many people make him out to be. He's definitely no tough guy. But he physically is a little beefy, like more so than people realize. Jason, I'd love to see Jack get built like that. Snow, Jack looks so skinny. I can't believe he's 175. He's probably closer to 160. Rendich, Luke has traits you can't teach. He can work on getting his shot from point through more often, but the play from last night, not many can do. Fitz is looking for a way to re-sign Sprong. Michael, I want the Wi-Fi brothers from Montreal. Arbor Jackeye. Oh, man, what a monster he is. Yeah, Glass is pretty tall, man. I think he is like 6'3", and he's like solid built. The first thing I said to him when I met him, I was like, wow, bro, you're a little bit bigger than I thought. Yeah, you got some size. And he was like, a lot of people say that, which is kind of funny. Doug, if we trade any of our righty forwards, I'll be pissed. It's possible. So that's what I think, 160, yeah. Pro Bowl, if Nemec gets traded for someone like Garland, I'd be semi okay. Oh, no, dude. If we trade Nemo for Garland, that's horrible. But I'd rather trade Nemec for a great young player. Yeah, trading Nemo for Garland would be terrible. Traveling, Luke will find his game soon. He needs a little more time. Completely agree. 22, he's a baby. Jay Snow, you've been next to Jack before. Do you feel like you just out-muscle him? I'm substantially bigger than him. I'm a fat ass. I'm taller than him, and I'm substantially larger in volume. Luke is much bigger than Jack. Both in height and, like, build. Army, Glass has size and heart. Great possession player. Doubt he's dealt. I think Mercer and Dougie are getting moved. Looks like a seller's market. All these guys are potential. If people want to pay the price, the New Jersey Devils are open for business. The New Jersey Devils are certainly open for business, but I'd be pissed if Mercer's, like, not traded for something meaningful as well. Traveling says if Glass goes, I'll be upset. Doug, Brat, Jack, and Luke all had shoulder surgery in their off seasons were all about rehab, so the hope is they could build this off season. Would be nice. Go on the Shimo Nemec workout plan. Jason, Jack's a world-class athlete. He should be in top shape. Well, I mean, what are you defining shape by? Like muscular? I'm sure he's in phenomenal shape, but you're talking more of like physique. Doug, you hop in with Nemec this offseason and get bulked up. If they're still teammates, that would be nice. Traveling, thoughts, tougher than 99% of the people in this chat. Yeah. Snow, it's weird how hockey really doesn't prioritize the gym for a contact sport. I think a lot of guys do, Snow. I just think that there's a lot of guys that don't, but there's certainly tons that do. Weight training is crucial for athletics, period. for pretty much every sport. Pro Bowl, I just hope Luke gets better. That's all. I've been harsh on him, but if he gets better, I'll deposit my apology. He will, man. He's 22. Give it some time. He signed that big contract this summer, and everyone was gunning for him. Rendich, LeBron said Devils want a first-line player. Specifically stated center for Nemec. We will get that is not certain, but LeBron basically speaks for Fitz. And that could, again, back to an earlier kind of thought process. Could that be, could that mean if we get the right center that we do see Jack Hughes transition to wing? I do think it's possible. Pro Bowl, I like Garland and his toughness, but who would you trade for him? I have no interest in Garland. None whatsoever. I'm completely out on midgets. If you've not learned anything from watching our undersized guys get battered all over the ice for years, I don't know how anyone on the planet, if you're a Devils fan, how you would have any interest in Connor Garland whatsoever. Sorry. Not for this Devils team. But he is the poster child of what has failed us. No, thank you. Jay Snow, players in the offseason do their own workouts, and training camp is like a joke these days. Well, no, all the hard work is, the offseason training these guys do, and it varies from player to player, but a lot of them have very intense, vigorous offseason regimens with, their off-ice guys, and they have on-ice trainers, but the guys that are at the top of their game are putting in the work in the summer, and it shows when they come back. And you certainly saw that with Simon Nemec. This season, he took that next step. Backs and Racks says, Brady getting booed in Calgary every time he touches the puck. He's got to leave Canada. Come to New Jersey. Jay Snow, especially now that we're going to 84 games. Jay Snow, that's great news. Push Brady to America, specifically NJ. Yeah, I would love to see it happen. I think he would relish the opportunity to play with Jack Hughes if it came up. So that's why I just think even if Ottawa's not obviously shopping him, if you're Fitz, drop the call. Be like, listen, I know he's not out there as an available player, but here's what I'll give you for Brady Tkachuk. You have 20 minutes to call me back and make it happen. Click. Offer a monster package. Pro Bolt says, I understand, Ace, you're right about that. Yeah, listen, is he an okay player? Sure. Could he be great for some other teams? Yes. Do I want to see him in a Devils jersey? Absolutely not. I'm done. We need scritty players. We need size. We need strength. I am done with these small guys. I'm done. No more undersized. Give me oversized. Or at a minimum, just give me standard size. But undersized, I'm fully out. I have no interest. Fully out on the undersized guys. Luke says, Ace, you're taking Garland, just made me spit out my drink. Great stuff. I mean, listen, it is what it is. I want animals. I want dogs. Doggy dogs. Big barking, drooling dogs. I don't want chihuahuas. Sorry. Travelin says, I highly doubt Brady cares about getting booed by Calgary fans. No, probably not. But, I just think there's a lot of stuff going on with Canada, and specifically him being an American and winning the gold, and he played, it's just a lot. Aside from their struggles, I could see him wanting out. Doug says Nico trains the Swiss Army in his off seasons. That's pretty cool. Travelin says Ottawa loves him. I don't know if that's true. I know some people do, but I feel like he's a bit of a polarizing guy as well. I feel like I've seen a bunch of kind of things online where people were over him. Alan says, Ace, 100% agree with you. Enough of these midgets. We need big bulls like Timo. That's right. That is right. Pro Bowl says Brady ain't leaving Ottawa, New Jersey, Jay Snow. Accept it and move on. Well, let us live, man. Richie says no more Skeeters on this team. Snow, it's well known Jack is the last guy off the ice, even at Olympics. I heard he's definitely dedicated. I'm not saying he's not. I just think he needs to prioritize the gym this offseason, especially, God willing, his health. Yeah, I don't think he's a big weight guy. Jay Snow, don't ruin my dreams. And hopefully he can embrace it. I do think Jack with another 10 pounds of muscle would be better suited for NHL war. For NHL warfare. Army, hit the like for your favorite Tendy thief. Looking forward to the stream tomorrow. Thanks. Hit the thumbs up for your boy. And hopefully for the Devils to make a meaningful trade. Pro Bowl, Tage and Brady are staying with their respective teams. Bury the hatchet and move on. I don't think that's really the correct usage of bury the hatchet. And I do agree they're probably not being dealt, but we could still fantasize. Tyler Rodriguez, Dylan is somebody who doesn't get talked about enough. He's not good enough. Wanted his grittiness, but it's garbage. Need better. His grittiness is garbage? I disagree with you, Tyler. Dilly's definitely a heart and soul guy. I'm a Dilly guy, but I'd like to see him have a chance at a cup. Jason, I can see Brady leave Ottawa now. I don't know if it's going to be New Jersey. We got Nemo for Tippett. Doug, the only exception to that is if the player has the skill level of someone like Bedard and a lethal shot like that. Yeah, definitely slightly different. Jason, guys get fed up and move on. We've seen a lot of guys ask out. I think eventually it's going to happen with him. It's just a matter of time. I mean, how many years, he just made the playoffs for the first time last year in his career. And they're going to miss again this year, most likely. Gleason, waiting on Jack for like 7 years to gain weight and muscle is crazy. It's a little discouraging. Richie, beer, steak, potatoes, and weights for Jackie boy. Doug, Caulfield is undersized, but can you imagine him and Jack playing like they did in the U18 USA program? No, I can't imagine them playing like that, Doug, because the NHL is men. Men. Fierce men. Very different competition than the U18 USA program. Yes, they were magical at that level, but the NHL is a different beast. Jason knows that Dylan's been great this year. NJD for life. How could they trade Nemec? That's the absolute worst move they can make. It's asinine. How can you say that without knowing who we're talking about, though? If they trade him for some mediocre player, then sure. But again, just for the sake of the argument, I don't think this is going to happen. So, take it with a grain of salt, but I'm using it as an illustration. Let's just say Ottawa was willing to trade Brady Tkachuk. If Nemo was in a package for Brady Tkachuk, then it wouldn't be asinine at all. If Boston wants Nemo, Nemec for Higgins. Oof. That's a little bit of a gamble situation. It's a little bit of a gamble situation. I don't know. Is he, let me see something. Is he signed? He's not signed. So then if you, I don't know enough about Higgins to really answer that one. The bright side about him is that he is a center. I think he's a center, right? Yeah. He could hopefully bring some points, but the other kind of hidden value on him is you would be getting him on an entry level. And that's something that the Devils haven't had enough of, in my opinion, is guys on entry levels like performing. Obviously, this year, the best example we have of that is Grits, right? Grits on an entry level. Solid contribution from him, but that's a tough one. That's a tough one for me. It's a little more of a gamble than I would probably want to make. Like, I want to trade Nemo for a sure thing. Alan, not sure why Fitzgerald does not understand that this team needs big players. Point in case, look back at championship teams of the past. SJ Jack will always be slight like Kane, but I think he could be heavier on the puck. I agree with that. Go look at Caulfield's stats. Tell me how his scoring can't help us. No, it would. I'm not saying he wouldn't help us. But you have to realize with where this team is with the cap and assets and all of that, I think there's only going to be one like big move potential, and a guy like Caulfield would not be my number one pick. Would love him and somebody else, like I said about a bunch of other guys. Even undersized, he has the ability and skill to be elite. Matthew says Nemec for McDavid wouldn't be the worst thing ever. Oh, boy. Richie, Ace, you're doing the right thing and going with your bro and the nephews this weekend. Probably not this weekend. They'll have so much shit going on the weekend with all the sports and all these parties, and there's always the kid calendar is crazy. Tyler, being realistic with the players out there, who would you like to bring to NJ and at what cost? Hold that thought. I'm going to use the bathroom real quick. So there are a couple guys. I actually want to pull up this list. I'll be back 1 minute. I'm gonna tell you some of the guys that I would want. Players out there. We're talking players out there in a minute. Be right back. Players out there. Let me pull up this list. I'm still intrigued by Kadri. His contract is a little scary, but let me see. Some of the names that were popping up earlier in the season, even though this season's gone, I would still kick the tires. Like O'Reilly, what does he cost? You know, I want to see win now pieces, despite the team being terrible this year. With a full season of healthy Jack and a couple right tweaks, I think this team could be very competitive. And so I'm kind of back on the, some of those guys we talked about earlier, O'Reilly, Stammer with retention. Kadri, I would probably take a look at if the price was right. Another one that I could, who was the other one that I forgot about? Patrick Laine. I was interested the last time he was on the move a couple years ago. At the right price, I might take a shot on a guy like him. There's a lot of guys that if the price is right, I would take a chance. But in terms of like trading, Nemo, like to trade Nemo would have to be something huge for me. But there's a lot of other guys. Again, I would like Kyrou without trading Nemo. But Kadri, I think, brings in a little bit of everything that we could use. Kadri, I think, would be nice. And his contract might not age great, but I think that's a guy that kind of fits the identity of what we need. And he's a center. Kadri would be on my inquiry list for sure. Jamie says, I'm terrified of Fitz doing something really stupid. If you aren't getting Brady, you shouldn't be doing anything besides selling. I don't think we're going to be bringing in anything substantial. I would love to be wrong and for Brady to be delivered tomorrow. Brady for Nemo and picks is so lopsided for us. I have no faith in getting him a deal like that done. Well, no, it would be Nemo plus picks and other stuff. Like probably someone like Bratter, like, hypothetically Nemo, Bratter, a first and a second. Does that get it done? I'm just thinking out loud here. But I think that would be, something with Mercer in it. Nemo, a first. Brad and Mercer. I mean, that seems like a lot too, but you know, you got to give to get. Got to give to get, but I do think we have the pieces, if they were ever going to trade him, to come up with something that they would like. NJD for life says, maybe I'm the only one, but I think Nemo is our future. I mean, I don't think he's the team's entire future. Do I think he could be a big part of the future? Sure. But if he could be dealt for a big part of the right now, specifically at forward, it's something you got to consider. Jamie says, and if he trades for Garland, I will vomit. Another undersized forward with a bad contract. Totally what we need. Could not agree with you more. Jay Snow, I would love if Jack played like Grits, heavy on his skates, strong on pucks. Yeah, but the reality is Grits is bigger and stronger than him. So you're asking him to kind of assume some of the identities of a bigger and stronger man. Logan says, Nemec, Mercer, a first and a third. Is that a potential Brady package? Travelin says, let me know when Grits is a 99-point-a-year player. SJ, me too. I think he could do it. Just do squats or something. He will get stronger. I mean, I think it's a little more involved than that, but I certainly think that, you know, there could be some improvement there. Jason, did you hear what Grit said about fighting when Jack got hit? Love that. Oh, he's like, oh yeah, but Jack's our guy. Got to stick up for him or whatever. Vecna, it always seemed like the organization hated Nemo. Hopefully we don't get Granlund for him. Pro Bowl Nemec would be a better bait for a younger player or a Brady type of player. Yeah, that's the only thing I want to trade Nemo for, is something big. If not, then I would much prefer to keep Nemo. Jason said a Jack Caulfield line would get bullied in the playoffs. Jack needs a big winger. Could not agree more. Or a big center. Or potentially a big center. Travlin said that and others that could open the ice for him. Stickfix said, Ace, if you're going to be up all day tomorrow, you got to get your rest. I'll be good. I will be good. Justin says, interested in Kyrou. SJ Nelson was great with Jack, but guys like him are rare. Traveling, I didn't see the hit on Jack during the Panthers game. How bad was it? I mean, it wasn't crazy, but it was a hit that warranted a response from the team, and they got it. I wish it was a more aggressive and excessive response, but they did kind of the bare minimum what you have to do in a spot like that. Doug said Line A is a sleeper. I think it could be interesting. Traveling Nelson is awesome. Justin said no on Line A, injury prone. I mean, everyone's injury prone. Let's be real. Our entire team. Logan, Nemec, Mercer, a first and a second for Matthews. I don't know if that would get it done, but you could be in the ballpark. Again, I don't think he's getting dealt now either, but if he was ever available, I certainly would like the Devils to be in on that. Pro Bowl rather Brady than Matthews. Same with me. Snow said pass on Line A hurt and his commitment to playing has been questioned. Yeah, but that all could change with some new scenery. Jello, it's me. Honestly, if Line A doesn't get traded by tomorrow, just sign him for like $4 million for a year in the offseason. No assets move, so you could use those assets for a bigger move. Yeah. Line A is still young too. Lots of time to change people's opinions. I don't think Line A will get moved to the deadline. NJD for life. You're right. I hear what you're saying. Just scary to go all in when you got to make a push. I mean, that's just it. I mean, the years have ticked away. People constantly talked about the bright future and how young our team was and how our time will come, and the window didn't open yet. And now we're sitting here talking about a world where Nico Hischier might not even be a Devil beyond this summer, potentially. I hope that's not the case. But no one knows what the future holds, and everyone just talked about winning like it was this inevitable thing that we were going to walk into one year, and here we are hoping to sniff a conference finals with some sort of semblance of the roster in place right now. It's madness. It's complete madness. Jello, it's me. Devils should have should save assets to rip Matthews out of Toronto. They could probably do a similar package to the Eichel package for him. Not familiar with NJ assets, so I can't make a mock trade. I mean, they have, for a deal like that, there's roster players, there's draft picks, there's some prospects. Alan, Ace, I'm still concerned that Nico may leave. If Fitz does not change his team, would you want to stay here? No. And I said this months ago, and people ripped me. Months ago, I said, Nico re-signing here long-term is far from a guarantee, and I believe this season, meaning the season we're in now, this season coming up, this is in the summer, will determine how Nico views his future here or whether he wants to test free agency or whatever it may be. And here we are, another season down the tubes. I'm sure this guy's like, well, what am I doing here? Yeah, I like the area. I'm the captain, blah, blah, blah. But this team sucks, and there's no kind of light at the end of the tunnel here. Why am I going to sign here when other teams will pay me a ton of money and I'll have a better chance to win a cup? Probolt says, I don't want AM at all. I just don't see how. NJD for life, you're right. I hear what you're saying. It's scary to go all in when we have these really bad contracts like Luke and Dougie. First of all, Luke is not a bad contract, number one. And Dougie's not really a bad contract either. It's just a lot of money tied up on our blue line. But Luke, hopefully, is worth his contract and then some in the very near future, the next couple seasons. Dougie at $9 million in the new cap world is not this terrible deal that everyone thinks it is. You people need to start looking around at what other guys are getting paid. John Fay Dillon wanted heads after that Jack hit, and I hope he wants heads Saturday. Oh, I love the fire Dilly brings. Throwback warrior. They don't make him like Dilly anymore, and I will miss him whenever he moves on from this team because he's just a grizzled veteran. Traveling, I was wondering how Dylan got 2 roughing penalties at the same time. Jay Snow, I give Dilly full marks after the Jack hit. He was dragging a guy out of the pile with one hand. Yeah, he wanted blood. I think he was the only guy in the scrum whose gloves were off. John Fay Dillon earned that 4-minute penalty. I will defend him. Nico's pushing 30. We need to win. Yeah, no shit, guys. This is what I'm saying. Everyone talks and for years was talking like every guy we had was 20 and 21 years old. Like, no, buddy. Timo, Brader, and Nico are all approaching that 30 years old. Like, what are you waiting for to want to see a push? Win now. Right now. There's no more seasons to waste. We've been flushing them on the regular. Doug, Jack turns 25 in May. It feels like yesterday he was drafted. And in the blink of an eye, folks, careers go by the wayside and guys age out and get traded or leave in free agency. And the time to win is now. That's it. Traveling, I'm not saying Dylan was an ass. I just never seen players getting 2 roughing penalties in one call. Dilly was out there playing some chippy hockey. Anson, I'd kill for Brady, AM34, and Quinn, but it's a pipe dream. Any one of those 3 is a pipe dream. All 3 of them is just not possible. The salary cap makes that literally impossible. Line A is 27. Let's see what we got here. Ooh, and the Bruins go down 6-3 to the Predators. Buffalo won. Rangers won. Islanders are losing. I mean, the out-of-town scoreboard is in favor of what the Devils kind of need. Rendich, post-healthy scratch Dougie is worth every bit of the $9 million. Completely agree. If he could sustain this level of play, I mean, Allen says ace off topic, but at this point, who do you think has the best chance of winning the cup? Probably the Avs. But there's a lot of there's a handful of teams I think that are going to be very dangerous in the playoffs. Tyler, so many people say we have bad salary cap. We really don't. The players we have locked up are at good contracts. It's beside them that is the issue that could be easy to move. Doug said 27-year-old Line A could come in and flip the script. I'd do it. At the right price, I would take a gamble on him. Oh, Anson, I meant 1 or 2 of those guys in my dream. I'd be thrilled with any one of them. B-Jig Fisherman. Hello, Ace from Seattle. Just my thoughts. It's fun when the Devils play well when some of them fear to be traded. I don't even know if some of them are fearing to be traded. Some of them are probably hoping to be traded. John Fay, hopefully we can snag 2 points Saturday and Sunday, but only God knows what's to happen since it's 2 teams we have bad blood with. Yeah, that that Devils Wings kind of rivalry I feel like it's been brewing going back to last season. SJ Line is big and can score goals, appealing, but always injured. Doug, injury prone or not, I feel like he's another guy linked to the Devils for years, but nothing. Have we been linked to him? You get him at the right price, I would take a shot. Stammer, 2 assists tonight. Washed, old and washed. Anson, Fitz got us to Donov, just waived him. Patch job Fitz. Yeah, it's constant patch jobs and budget fixes. Allen, I still want players like O'Reilly. I would still take him too. I'm still in the you have to try to win now or in the very near future mode. And so, you know, a lot of people are talking about, oh, this guy's old, this and that. Like, I don't care. Not every guy needs to be in their prime to be a winning team. I've talked about this a million times. Not every guy is going to be in their prime. There's going to be some guys in their prime. There's going to be some guys past their prime. There's going to be some guys that haven't even entered their prime yet. You need a nice mixture and balance for a Stanley Cup contender recipe. That's how it all comes together. And so age is not scaring me for some of these guys. And a guy like Kadri, I think, would be worth inquiring on. John Face, I'm more excited for the Wings over the Ranger game. They're both going to be good. Line is 27. 27 years old. SJ, I'd like Kadri, all sandpaper with some skill and a real pain for opponents. Yeah, the exact type of guy we've been missing forever. Would love Kadri. The contract's a little scary, but I think that would be, assuming you didn't have to trade a ton to get him here, I think that's a chance you got to take. Doug said he was such a dog at such a young age on the Jets. Talking about Line. NJD for life. If we get the first or second pick, does it change your thoughts about going all in? No. I would trade the pick no matter what. No matter what. This is not a draft, as far as I know, that there's none of these guys are going to be Connor McDavid or Celebrini or anything like that. I trade the pick for win now pieces. Win now. Now. Right now. I trade the pick no matter what. Doug says his career has been up and down. Oh, yeah, Line and Taves. Yeah, no, 2 totally different guys. I've been intrigued by Line for a while. I wouldn't want to pay a lot to get him. But if you could get him in a sensible deal, I think that could be a gamble worth taking. What's your pick if you're the GM? What's my pick? What pick? What pick are we referring to? Tyler said could have gambled Line and said it was Dodonov. Patchwork fixes. No more budget patchwork Band-Aids. Real players only. Certified players only. Traveling Stamkos would be good on a Devils team that was a cup contender, not this team. What is he going to do? Score 30 goals and miss the playoffs or lose in the first round? Completely disagree. he could help get this team to the playoffs and be a contender. He's definitely a certified winner, certified legend, and would certainly help this group on and off the ice. Still would be a nasty threat on the power play. Could still put the puck in the net. I would take Stammer in a heartbeat with 2. It's not like he's signed for 7 more years. He's got 2 more years left. What would you do if you're Fitz? Look to bring in impact players. What do you mean? Kadri's a guy I'd look at. I'd look at Stammer. I would kick the tires on everybody and try to make the deal that makes the most sense. I would like Kyrou if we didn't have to trade Nemo for him. There's plenty of guys out there that whether they're realistic possibilities or not, remains to be seen. But I would certainly be inquiring on all these guys. I'd inquire on Line, O'Reilly, see what the costs are and make a decision from there. Alan, Ace, maybe my imagination, but seems like other than Timo, West Coast players never seem to come to the Devils, and there have been tons of great players in the past that could have. I never really thought about that. What do you mean, like, just we don't trade with Western Conference teams? I mean, Markey was a Western Conference player. Doug said if I was Fitz, I'd resign and stay away from New Jersey. That's never happening. Toffoli. B. Jig Fisherman. Would you sell Jack, Nico, Jesper, and Timo? No. No, but I'd listen. If people are calling, I'd listen to see what they have to say, but it would take a lot to trade one of them. But I do think we are overdue for a shakeup. And so if there's a move to be made with a guy like Bratter, you'd have to consider it. I like all these guys, but as a group, they're just not getting it done. And to consistently convince ourselves every season that next season is going to be different it's just insane. It's the literal definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. We've seen this movie already. This group as a group is what they are. They've done what they've done. Disappeared for big parts of seasons. All the guys other than Jack fell off a cliff when Jack went down. And it's like, man, we just need something changed. Something needs to be different. All right, I think that's it, folks. I'm running on fumes here. Long day. Tomorrow's the big day. I'm expecting minimum 2 trades with the potential for more, but minimum 2, I think. Will be interesting to see what happens. Like I said, I'm not expecting anything huge coming back, but hopefully we could free up some money so that future moves can be made either in trade or free agency in the offseason. And I'm going to be here all day tomorrow. All day tomorrow. And we'll see. We'll be talking about what's going on around the league, what the Devils are doing. I got to get my whole thing set up. What's going on, Amagi? Have to get my whole thing set up in here for the big day. Make sure I have all my devices ready. 9 a.m. Snow. 9 a.m. 9 a.m. I would love to be pleasantly surprised, but my expectations are super low. Super low expectations. I'm hoping to be surprised. That's it, folks. Back at 9 a.m. We're going to see how it goes. Totally different vibe than last year's deadline day, but it is what it is. American Swagger. Link pinned at the top of the chat and in the description. American Swagger. Hoodies and tees. Limited edition. Going to shut it down soon. Get yours before they're pulled. That's it, guys. Hoping for the best. Expectations low. We're going to see what happens, but there certainly will be a few deals, and we'll see how it shakes out. At least one defenseman's going to go, maybe 2. I'm thinking 2, but at a minimum 1. And that's it. Hit the thumbs up on your way out. If you haven't checked out the if you guys could do me a big favor. I know a lot of you probably saw it the first time before I got scared about the IOC. but I'm going to get punished in the algorithm now. And it's annoying that I have to deal with this stuff, but I'm going to get punished in the algorithm because some of you probably already saw this vlog when it was up the first time. So you didn't watch it again when it was re-released. But do your boy a favor and just click this link and let the vlog play. You don't even have to watch it. YouTube doesn't know. Just hit the link and let it play in the window. I'd really appreciate that. I just dropped the link in the chat because now the algorithm is going to punish me. And I already know that a lot of you probably saw it the first time it was posted, but I realized there was something in there that the IOC could come after me for. And so I'd greatly appreciate it if you could click on that link and just let that video play. That would be really nice of you guys. But that's it. Preparing for tomorrow. What will happen? Nobody knows, but we're going to find out tomorrow. We'll have a lot of answers by sometimes it takes an extra 10 minutes but after the deadline. So I'm going to call it by like 3:15. Sometimes you get those late trickler deals. But if you're not subscribed, would appreciate the subscription. Put on the notifications if you are subscribed. Hit the thumbs up on the way out. Check out some of the other videos on the channel. If you want to check out the Italy vlogs, I still have a couple of more of those in the chamber. Live from the streets of Milano with my man Traveling Devil as we witnessed history. Still got to figure out how to maybe share that footage someday. The lost footage of all the run. I have some great footage, but the IOC is a bunch of mother. How about that's it? That's it. Back tomorrow. All day trade deadline day live. Thank you all for watching. I love you all. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz. Until next time, friends, let's go.